Well, none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots, yeah. None of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots. I'm telling you now, the truth. Telling you, yeah, the truth, the truth. You have to go back to the roots, the roots. Go to the roots, to the roots. Yeah, man, you know, this is Benjamin out of the Smiling Coast, West Africa, Gambia, representing for the one and only Abu, the big man you don't know, the Soninke warrior, the man that brings the truth. Soninke warrior, the sign of enlightenment. The Soninke warrior, the righteous and the true African. Abu, reveal the truth to them, you know, no matter how them try run from it, because none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Yes, we have to dig back the roots, yeah. Fire!
Subscribe now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Afridamus Report. I want to welcome all of you to the Afridamus Report. If you're new here, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into it, I want to first of all, thank, some of you that have common sense and understand that, you are here to educate and entertain yourself at the same time. That's why I call my platform the best edutainment channel on this side of YouTube. Because you see, some of you, for some reason, everything has to be emotional, but you have to realize the world doesn't revolve around you. Facts over fiction. Because you see, sometimes I play to your level and you show who you are. But then you have to also allow yourself to learn. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is about the partition and the scramble, for Africa. This is how many of you have heard of it, right? And many a times, these stories, they are told to you as an African from the European perspective. But you see, I'm going to be speaking about, the controversial 1884. Because you see, 1884, we're still pretty much in 1884, if you must know, where, European powers, the reason why they came to the table at the Berlin Conference. I am going to explain all that as well. And some of you also, if you must know, the French especially, they are still very much present in Africa, right? So that's another topic to compare and contrast between French colonialism versus British colonialism. Because many people like to, go with emotion saying, are Africans docile? Are Africans conquered? I am going to break all that down today. And also, people like to fantasize about what Africa used to be like. Are the people one and the same? For some reason, some of you believe just because when you say colonialism, the person's entire civilization is changed. No, but the most important things, because this country idea was drawn in 1884 when European powers, quote unquote Europeans, led by the French and the British, they've been trading with Africa, mind you, since the 15th century. The Portuguese came by first and they landed somewhere around Congo. But at the time, the Europeans didn't have sophisticated weapons. They were met by men, warriors around that area, which is present day Congo. So they negotiated, they eventually established trade between, the little kingdom there and the Portuguese. So along the line, you would see small European trading posts. They've been there for quite some time trading, but Europeans would fight amongst each other over who gets to control those trading posts, and eventually that spread to, they need the resources, they need the African resources, and they didn't want to pay for it because they didn't have any way of paying for it. Because you see, around 1884, Europe, because Europeans, in Europe, they've been fighting so many different wars, amongst these different little kingdoms, territories. The Europeans fight amongst each other. So these wars bankrupt a lot of the European nations. So, and also the wars that they fight outside of European territory, over other places. So they have so much experience about, conquest, colonizing places. So now at this point that I'm speaking of, by 1884, I'm just giving you the Reader's Digest to fast forward, because they were trading with the Africans on the coast, the chiefs, you see. So they studied the landscape, they learned about who gets along with who doesn't get along with who. But slavery was part of the trade. I know that many a times the stories that they push, you know, slavery is what's pushed at the top. But that wasn't the only thing that brought the Europeans there. Mainly gold. And that gold, that's what replenished Europe's economy. That same economy is what's going on today. Many people might say it changed form, but that gold, that was taken from the west coast of Africa, especially around place called, the Gold Coast, Ghana, you know, Nigeria, around the coast, Mali. Mali is inside, but still, that same wealth that was taken during that time to replenish those European economies, that's what brought Europe back. Because at the time, even poor nations like Portugal and Spain, Spain was slightly had a little bit of money, but Portugal was poor. They had colonies somewhere in Africa. So the people thought they were trading with them, but the Europeans were able to go and negotiate. Like, for instance, you come to me, right? You're like, hey, I got the hookup. I'm the one that goes and talk to these people. You don't know much about it. So whatever the middleman is telling you, you're gonna go by that. So they had explorers. Being an explorer was a big thing at the time. MS Delta, thank you for the $50 super chat. He said, Afri Damas, keep up the great edutainment. Thank you very much for the super chat. You're very, very welcome as well. So now, ladies and gentlemen, so they are trading with, because they like to say natives, but these places, they weren't countries as you know them to be today. They were kingdoms. Some of them are huge, and some are little tiny kingdoms, just like countries. So these Portuguese, they controlled the trade at the time. But to fast forward to 1884, the Europeans, definitely they needed the resources. They needed it bad. And they were about to go to war with each other over who gets to control what territory in Africa. So that's how the Berlin Conference came about. So they sat at the table. And that's why I asked, was there any African at the table? People might say, some people are going to say, no, no, no. Some might say yes. Okay, well, as far as, any place that you would consider Africa, there was only one African nation leader that was aware of this, which was the emperor of Ethiopia at the time. But don't jump too quick. Some of you might think the emperor, how come? Some of you might even say, why didn't the emperor send a text? Why didn't the emperor do this? I would bring a special history on that, which is the war between Ethiopia and Italy. And you would understand why Ethiopia had to be aware of that deal, because they were a lot more. They fought the war with the Europeans and won at this time, right? They've gained respect. They've signed treaties and stuff. They are the only African country that, won, defeated European nation and made them pay reparation to them. Ethiopia did this. I'm going to bring that history. It's not like a conspiracy thing that people might think, okay, maybe they sold out the other Africans. But every place had its own interest. It wasn't united like, some of the Pan-Africans like to make it sound, Africa was united, blah, blah, blah. No, today I'm going to walk you through. But before we go through that, let me read this excerpt that I found. And I think you guys would find it very, very, educational, that, like this is how things really went. It's not like how people try to paint the picture, you see? Because, for instance, no matter how strong you are, right? If a person already, cooked up their plan on how to take you over, there's no way that you can win. So that's what happened to Africans. But the Africans also played a huge role in their own defeat. You're going to find that out here today as well. I'm going to read this. So you guys seen this article here in front of me, and it says the Partition of Africa. So by the turn of the 20th century, the map of Africa looked like a huge jigsaw puzzle, with most of the boundary lines having been drawn in a sort of game of give and take played in the foreign offices of the leading European powers. The division of Africa, the last continent to be so carved up, was essentially a product of the new imperialism, vividly highlighting its essential features. In this respect, the timing and the pace of the scramble for Africa are especially noteworthy. Before 1880, colonial possessions in Africa were relatively few and limited to coastal areas with large sections of the coastline and almost all the interior still independent. By 1900, Africa was almost entirely divided into separate territories that were under the administration of European nations. The only exceptions were Liberia, generally regarded as being under special protection of the United States. Morocco, conquered by France a few years later. Libya, later taken over by Italy, and Ethiopia. Ethiopia annexed it, but I will bring that story another time. The second feature of the new imperialism was also strongly evident. It was in Africa that Germany made its first major bid for membership in the club of colonial powers. Between May 1884 and February 1885, Germany announced its claim to territory in Southwest Africa, now Southwest Africa, Namibia, Togoland, Cameroon, and part of the East African coast opposite Zanzibar. Two smaller nations, Belgium and Italy, also entered the ranks, and even Portugal and Spain once again became active in bidding for African territory. The increasing number of participants in itself sped up the race for conquest. Did you hear that word? Conquest. Remember that word because I'm going to break that down. And the heightened rivalry became more intense concern for reclusive occupation, increased attention for military arguments for additional buffer zones. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just so, to give you a little background on what you see today, why things are the way they are. Because that 1884, that's what decided, the Africa of today that we are constantly talking about. That other people come here and tell each other how their countries are asshole, dusty, but you would find out all those countries that you call, right? They all went through, one form of being conquered. I mean, I would say they're all conquered, right? Because you're either conquering or conquered. That's what the world was like. But Africa's case, if you ask me, was a special one. Because the people, they went and sat down and planned on how to carve up Africa amongst each other. Let me ask you guys here. Ask yourself this question. If you decide, let's say you want to go, you're like, hey, John, now that place over there belongs to you. So that would mean you have already decided, okay, militarily, we're about to, get down, and shoot these people down. Because how else are you going to, make that place your own? So now, Joe Blow is over there. He's thinking you guys are trading, right? But now the trade changed. The game had changed completely. And with the other Africans also having beefs amongst each other, that also plays a huge role. So I have a video, a very, very interesting video. This video is very well put together. And it walks us, anyone that watches it, I'm going to be breaking it down as well, but it walks you through, from step one, it's like it's digestible because it's not too long. So instead of people always, screaming, telling each other, your country is colonized, mine isn't, that's nothing to be ashamed of. You see, to develop superior intelligence, you don't have to deny yourself the truth, because that comes from where? Hatred. That hatred, it closes your mind. But you see, in life, you have to take every situation as a lesson. Sometimes you're defeated, but as long as the sun shines, you can win again. Learn from your mistakes. You don't have to hate the person that defeated you, but you can learn what technique did they use. Because how can you free yourself from whatever box you find yourself in but you are not interested in finding out how that box was put together, how you even are finding yourself in that box, even though it's not your own doing, but that box was created, and the people that created that box, they consciously created it, and they brought it, and they're like, look, you gotta get in this box whether you like it or not. It wasn't a friendly thing. You see, I understand some people get uncomfortable when, people want to teach real African history, what happened to Africans, things that are not taught in school. I'm not talking to you from a point of for you to be like, oh man, feeling sad. No, 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 no. I'm trying to help open your eye to this 1884 situation. Because you see, when people are blinded by what is happening to them, they become confused. And today, that's what many Africans are suffering from. I mean, imagine from all those years of conquest, many Africans, they are, completely, they are at a point, they are completely mentally defeated. And those people, you are seeing them serving your country, but it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Because you see, when a wolf teaches a sheep, what do you think that wolf would teach that sheep? It would only teach that sheep to go get the other sheep and bring them so that they can barbecue them whenever they need to. Because what are wolves known for? They want meat, right? So you cannot trust any sheep, even if you're related to the sheep, quote unquote. I'm not saying, you are the sheep, but I'm just speaking in terms of people that bring group thinking. So a sheep that is taught by wolves, do you think the sheep should trust that sheep? No, because if you don't trust the wolves, how can you trust the student of the wolf? But there is, the picture is bigger than you think. Even in this video, you're going to find out the tactics that France is using. The reason why, French West Africa is still colonized. But before I do that, let me play my copyright here. Let's go. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. Let's start this video here. I'm gonna break this down in
most African countries is usually attributed to the legacies of colonialism. Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, Spain, and Italy were the major European powers that were involved in the complete colonization of Africa. However, the two nations that held the most colonies in Africa were France and Britain. The difference between French and British colonialism in Africa is the focus of this video. Before colonization, Africa had wider flexibility of movement as national borders were almost non-existent. There was no structural form of government as large communities led to the formation of kingdoms, powerful empires, and city-states. This led to the formation of common languages, beliefs, traditions, cultures, value systems, art, lifestyle, and religious practices. However,
So people that were saying, questioning, did Africans build anything ever? You see why it's important for an actual African to break these videos down? Because, it helps bring a different perspective. Because if you're trying to compare the 21st century to the 14th, 15th century, it's not going to be comparable. But, for their time and for that environment, what they need, were they providing for themselves? Were they building things? Were they creating? That's always the question. Because the Europeans claim that they were there to civilize the Africans and Christianize them. And the Arabs also say they are there to, through trade, they want them to become Muslims. So let's find out how that went down.
a global European process of reaching all the continents of the world led to the colonization of Africa, and this process changed the world dramatically. European countries fought to take over African countries mainly because of their natural resources. Their reasons range from economic, political, and religious. At the time, the European continent was faced with economic depression and countries were losing money. Apart from being out of harm's way, Africa had an abundance of raw materials. Another reason for Africa's colonization was the need to use the African population, which served as cheap labor for European industries.
So, ladies and gentlemen, and sometimes you would hear some of these people who would say, oh, the African countries, they are so poor. Or people who would say they have all this resource. What did they do with it? Well, these are materials that are needed to build things that are in the West. So think about the interactions from the get-go. It was taken for free through force. And that same market that was established is the same market that we are still living in. So how do you expect the African, to come to dominate it? The African has been dominated from day one, like blindly robbed. That's what you're seeing. So for people, when you say it, you have to find a way to do it with evidence, because if not, you're just ranting emotionally. I hope this video, at least this show, would change the way you look at things. If there's ever anything that can unite Africans on, should be this, because on this video here, you would see that the fate of these countries is the same. Is the same. So you have to learn from it, and it's not all bad as some might put, but if your resources are taken, I don't know, man. I don't know about that, and even you've heard, I don't know about you, but I've heard even here on TV before, where here in the United States, I'm talking the 21st century, around the Iraq war, right? When the United States, let's say the New World Order invaded Iraq, led by the US, there were people on TV saying they believe that Iraq's oil was put there for the benefit of them, the Western civilization. I don't know if some of you remember this. Like literally, it's not like, because I know some of you like the conspiracy. No, it's been said in front of you. So imagine that's the 21st century, and that's been said on TV. So what about when they needed that African land with all those resources? to replenish their economy. They felt the same way. That resource belongs to them. That's the attitude. It wasn't paid for. MS Delta, thank you for another super chat. Said it's all about economic power, thus gives you political and military power. The old saying, follow the money. Exactly. So and you have to also remember the, for instance, just like here in the United States, right? Um, the war, the war, for instance, in Iraq, Afghanistan. I mean, honestly, the average person, how unless they have a family there in the military, and also the taxpayers been lied to, their money being taken and spent towards that endeavor. So these powers in Europe are doing the same thing, and they were doing the same thing. There were private entities who were part of it, but these military expeditions, they were using their taxpayers' money to fund it. Because, like when King Leopold took the Congo, where do you think he got that money from? Besides some loans, because they didn't have a lot of money, but it was mostly from the Belgian, you know, taxpayers. So it is funded just like American taxpayers fund the war in Iraq, Afghanistan, and wherever the US invades. So it's the same pattern. That's why they have foreign offices. So this 1884 structure is what is still running the world. Believe it or not, that's the system we are all in. But Africa has it bad, super bad, because Africa is the big landmass for all the resources. As you heard, when because people like to say the Africans were starving, they were diseased. Go read from Portuguese writers, first writers that came to Africa. You would see that is in fact not true. The place, you know, that's why people wanted to rob it. That's why the Europeans wanted it for themselves. It had vegetation, the climate is great. They have all the resources that the Europeans needed. And they needed the people also for cheap labor. I know they shine more light on only the slavery, but no, there were a lot more that came with that. A lot more.
The scramble for Africa, which was the phrase used to describe how European countries sought to take over countries in Africa, began during the new imperialism between 1881 and 1914. In 1884, at the request of Portugal, German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, at the Conference of Berlin, and British New Imperialism, called for an end to the confusion over the control of Africa. They met to discuss the division of Africa without Africa
Go black, plow. Thank you for the 150 super chat. Oh man, you've dropped the highest so far. Thank you so much. I mean, and MS Delta. No, I think MS Delta. But thank you very much on a blessed Sunday like this. He said, Putin, the most potent poison of 2022. It took down the United States in February, the United Kingdom in September, and Putin, the variant no boosters can defeat. That's absolutely true, because if you're looking at the trend right now, there's a new power rising, which is, Russia. Russia got defeated in the past, but it looks like they are rising, and they are trading with African nations and other nations outside of Africa, Iran, and other places, because it's all about that power. But we'll touch on that on another time.
being present.
But thank you for the super chat.
They shared Africa like a piece of cake. The countries represented at the conference included Germany, Belgium, Italy, Great Britain, Russia, Spain.
So Russia was present at this meeting in 1884. So some some of the European countries, just because they didn't have colonies in Africa, but they had vested interest in the trade. So sometimes some of the people that try to come and explain why Africans should come together and create, you know, a bigger block in trade amongst each other, they have a hard time explaining it because they start doing surface things. They want to push forward their own desires, their own myopic thinking. Oh, you have to speak like me, you have to do this. No, that's not what it is. These Europeans, they speak different languages. But you see, they were about to go to war over Africa. But they are like, wait a minute, let's not go to war over this. How about we agree, we share this amongst ourselves? They don't have to like each other. Don't you think if one of these nations could have taken, most of the territories by themselves, do you think they would have cared about what the others think? No. So it's about economics, it's about money. Don't let anyone fool you. Because sometimes some of these people try to tell you, oh, but they brought civilization, they Christianized, they did this. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Okay, here, you take this Bible and, continue supplying us and continue being a slave. I mean, because the system that's left there, that is still there, that's what's still holding Africa down. Do you think these people, they came there to train the Africans, how the Africans can, uplift themselves? Maybe some private entities did, but everything that was put in place was to benefit, you know, the Europeans. Point blank. It was to benefit the Europeans. So this is why, even one time I said, some African countries need to be colonized. And people got upset. They don't understand what I'm saying. Because if you look at the structure of the 1884, now the Europeans, some of them, they don't even have to do anything. The Africans are the ones pushing it hard. If that's a colonial law, for instance, think about where I'm speaking from. If if colonial law was given to you, and now you know it's colonial law, you don't want to change it. You want to push it harder. Who is this law benefiting? If it's not the majority, right? Like some of the laws, people can debate it, but most of these heads of states in Africa, they operate just like their quote unquote colonial masters because they don't want to push the interests of the masses. So therefore, if they want to push that and they are not even doing it the right way, that's why I said they should bring the white people back until maybe people can guilt them at least into changing their ways in the 21st centuries. But to say that Africa wasn't robbed and continue to be robbed after after this show today, you tell me how you can even think that. Seriously, how you can even think it.
Spain, Austria-Hungary, the Netherlands, Denmark, France, Portugal, Sweden, Norway, Turkey, and the United States of America. Great Britain, France, Portugal, and Germany were the major players out of the 14 countries at the conference. They were controlling most of Africa.
Did you guys hear? The United States was present at the table as well. So you hear like how some people say, man, why don't you guys go talk to England, Britain, the United States? No, the United States was also, they might not have had, you know, any territory like, I mean, except Liberia. You see, that's a whole different story. But economically, yes, they benefited as well. It's just like today. Just like today. If you're paying attention, have you heard of the coalition of nations? Like when the Afghanistan, Iraq, yeah, it's just led by the United States, but it's a coalition. Libya, do you think Gaddafi's gold, all his resources, who do you think that went to? That was petitioned amongst the same group of people. And that wasn't even that long ago.
At the time. The conference lasted for 3 months and it saw the European countries bargaining over geometric boundaries, and this led to the division of the continent of Africa into 50 irregular countries. The rivalry between Britain and France also saw them fighting over the acquisition of Africa's territories. By 1900, the majority of Africa had been colonized by 7 European powers.
Yes, Stoic one. They talked about it for 3 months, so they can come to agreement who gets to keep what territory. So when people are arguing over if the Africans are weak or not, you're about to find out how this really practically went down. Because the Africans were completely ignorant of this. They didn't know. They didn't know what was going on. It's just meetings amongst the Europeans. And if you agree on a territory, you put your military together and be ready, to take action if the people resist. So the odds of you winning, like if the guy who already he came with the plan, he is ready to rock and roll, he's gonna win. The chance of him winning is higher than yours. So that explains it.
Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, and Italy. These powers established colonial state systems which were authoritarian and bureaucratic and were the machinery of administrative domination to facilitate effective control and exploitation of the colonized societies. However, these European countries were successful in colonizing Africa rapidly, mainly because of the rivalries between African leaders. Kings and chiefs were competing with themselves over who was the wealthiest and most powerful, and the Europeans took advantage of this by luring.
So guys, did you hear this? So as usual, the beefs, these kings and the African kings in some of these areas, they were rivaling amongst each other who's the wealthiest and who's the most powerful. So people that say all these people were united. So sometimes you confuse, like regular people, your village people or your townspeople, for the most part, the way they think versus the people in charge. Just look at even today, the people in charge, the way they think, the way they look at things versus the regular people is completely different because the agenda that they push doesn't benefit them. So if some king have beef with another king, that's not the regular people's business, but that king has the power to declare war. You see, that king has the power to declare war. And if they do, now the Europeans see, okay, hey, war never brings people together. War is division. And they take advantage of that.
Some leaders to their sides to join forces with them to fight their rivals. Also, the sophisticated weapons which the Europeans possessed and the Africans lacked made the continent vulnerable to their domination. They took control of colonies using force and violence. Some natural disasters equally played a large part in the rapid colonization of Africa. Drought in 1895 led to a food shortage, which caused the death of both man and animals and also weakened the population. There was also a plague of locusts, which destroyed the few crops that were grown. Cattle plague also broke out, leading to the death of cattle, sheep, and goats. All these incidents worked against the African continent and made them prey for the Europeans. The British and French colonized more than 95% of the African continent. While Britain colonized 22 African states, France colonized 20. France retained control of the northern, western, and part of the Central Africa, while Britain had control of eastern and southern Africa. The entry of the Europeans into Africa led to the spread of their culture.
So, do you guys see that? So when the Europeans eventually made it into some of the interior, this is somewhere out of East Africa. So they used to make their local servants carry them like this. Yes. And MS Delta, thank you. You said Western Europeans learned from the Romans, divide and conquer, divide and rule. Yes. Yeah, the Western Europeans, because they've been colonized by Roman, like England, the place you call England, they were colonized before. Like Europeans have gone through, conquest. They've been colonized, so they learned from it. So that's the whole point. I'm not saying Africans should learn how to go and colonize, but see the Europeans, they got colonized many times and they learned from it and they became masters at it. So they must have learned from their colonizers' blueprint. Because you don't focus on the things that would make you feel defeated. Learn the things that would empower you, that would help, elevate your thinking. Because for one to be able to pull this off, their plan must be on point. So you have to learn that plan and how to foil it. Because some people think now it's over. Because some of the countries, they are like, oh, now you have independence. But you will soon find out even that is questionable.
Culture, religion, and most especially language. Today, most African countries use either French or English as their major or second language. The French had been in Africa as early as the 1600s, but this changed during the Industrial Revolution when European countries had a need for raw materials and manpower, thereby seeing Africa as their go-to. After the Berlin Conference in 1884, where an agreement was made concerning the
So the people who were saying they believe the Africans didn't have clothes on, you can clearly see in this, depictions, they clearly do. But the French, they never left Africa, as you guys know. So from this point on, you would find out why the French are still in Africa.
colonization of Africa, France colonized West Africa between 1890 and 1914. The French established its first African colony in 1830 after seizing Algeria. Some other African countries colonized by France include Senegal, Gambia, Chad, Mali, Benin Republic, Sudan, Gabon, Tunisia, Niger.
She said Gambia, but okay, at one point, the French laid claim to Gambia. So Gambia became a negotiation tool because the English accepted it because the French, they said that territory belonged to them, Gambia, but they didn't have any papers to prove it. Look, these Europeans showing papers to each other that these places belong to them. But because of the river there, the River Gambia, the British and the French, the British are like, okay, let's negotiate about this territory, because the territory, the way you travel from the Atlantic Ocean, you can travel straight into the country, you know, along the river. So the Europeans, the English had trading posts along the River Gambia. They were trading ivory, um, beeswax, um, leather, slaves, gold. So that's why the British wanted to keep that territory, and also all those wars that were taking place in the interior. Because like when the Mali Empire, fell, the Songhai conquered Mali Empire, then the Moroccans came, they conquered the Songhais. Now that created all these different kingdoms. Then at the time, close to 1884, around that time, they had the rise of Segu. They had a king called Manson. So he was very, important in sending slaves, to through that channel. Every kingdom that he conquers, he sends them through that. So the English needed that territory. So the French agreed for them to, you know, keep it. They negotiated and agreed.
Republic of Congo, Cameroon, and Cote d'Ivoire. France colonized more countries in West Africa compared to other parts of Africa. All its colonies were constituted into a loose federation with its headquarters in Dakar, the present-day capital of Senegal.
So France, for all the French colonies, they set up the capital in Dakar. So you see why Senegal, Dakar especially, is still very important for the French. It's still the seat of the, French Empire, you could say. MS Delta, thank you for the $10 super chat again. He said, once Charles de Gaulle of France said, without Africa, France would be a third world country. Exactly, exactly. Let's see. 7-1 said, why were you in denial yesterday? I don't know what you're talking about.
System of administration adopted was known as the policy of assimilation, whose aim was to assimilate and transform all Africans in their colonies into Frenchmen and women. In other words, it was the imposition of the French culture, language, religion, law, traditions, lifestyle, and art on the West African culture.
So this is why you would see major difference between French colonies and English colonies, the people from there. So the French, they wanted to, impose their culture on on the people they colonize. This is why you meet sometimes some of the people, sometimes from French-speaking countries, Senegal or Ivory Coast, they would swear up and down that they're French, the way they sound, the way they act. But the English, it was different in English territories. The English, they just wanted to make their money. It's indirect rule. It's indirect rule.
Due to the failure of the policy of assimilation, mainly because of widespread criticism, France abolished the policy and introduced the policy of association. The policy of association respected the African people's culture, and their political institutions were recognized. For a long time, Britain was only interested in having a few outposts in West Africa for the slave trade business. However, British abolitionists succeeded in outlawing the slave trade in 1807. It wasn't until the latter part of the 19th century that Britain's interest in colonizing Africa was aroused, and the scramble for Africa led the British to aggressively expand and defend their colonies. The Berlin Conference carved.
So when they say defend their colonies, some people receive that in the wrong way, defending their interests. So the language changes. For instance, different people say different way, but when you read the text and even language that is used about Iraq, places that the US would, pretty much conquer, just listen to the terms that are used to describe the conquered one.
Up Africa, and the British got the southern and northeastern parts of the continent, thus leading Britain to spread its tentacles across the continent of Africa. It included lands in North Africa, much of West Africa, and a whole lot of territories in Eastern and Southern Africa. Some African countries colonized by Britain include.
See, that's Queen Elizabeth when she was much younger. I think so. You see, so most people think it's like, white soldiers that mainly came. No. So wherever, when they conquer places, they recruit the Africans into the army, the military, to help them conquer other territories. That's how it was. MS Delta said, facts. Once I visited Senegal and saw young men carrying a lot of French bread, French baguettes. I asked the restaurant for local food, not French food. I mean, you're absolutely right, MS Delta. Thank you again for the $10 super chat. The French influence there is heavy, and you can see where it started. So they thought it's pretty much ingrained in the people from the get-go. The French, they want the people to assimilate, to think like, them. So to pretty much brainwash them. Because, for instance, how can Africans be Frenchmen? They can try. That's like a fish, trying to climb. If you try to be like someone else exactly, they would always dominate you. They would always dominate you. 7-1 said, yes, Gambians were good soldiers for the Queen. Many Gambians fought for the British in World War II. Yes, my grandfather fought in World War II. But, I don't know how you want to interpret that. But just follow this stream. You would find, learn as we go.
South Africa, Zimbabwe, Ghana, Malawi, Nigeria, Kenya, and Uganda. One notable Briton who justified the colonization of Africa was David Livingstone. He was an explorer who went around much of Africa's interior. Livingstone reported back home that Britain had a duty to introduce the 3 C's, that is, Christianity, commerce, and civilization to Africa.
Did you guys hear this? Have you guys heard of David Livingstone? In fact, I believe there's places named after him in East Africa, somewhere South Africa. Very popular explorer. So all it's planned out, the 3 C's: civilization, commerce, and what's the third one? I mean, you guys will, Zambia. In Zambia. But David Livingstone, you would see there are some people who, for instance, I remember I've learned about, these explorers in school back in the days. And they teach us about the scramble of Africa. The way they teach it, I mean, you would know, like, it's like brainwashed. The way the teachers, some of them, they would explain it. It's like they're proud of the, the quote unquote education system. But now looking back, you would know it's brainwashing because they will tell you, oh, the European, when this such and such European discovered, Mount Kilimanjaro, which European discovered, this Lake Volta. So those are the type of things they want to teach. They want the African to learn. It's like juvenile stuff. Nothing about manufacturing how to get the person to elevate themselves. So if you look at it, this David Livingstone, who, do you think at the time he was going to propose anything that would help the European dominate the Africans and make the African more docile, or that which would elevate the African to be themselves? Obviously, it's the other way around. So that's why you have to even question religion. Because if you look at it, the people that came to dominate are the ones that brought it to you. They brought it to you. And you see, the man justified colonization. Maybe he's thinking, hey, this is good. But what about the one who's been colonized?
It was thought that Christianity would provide the moral principles that would guide Africans, while commerce and civilization would encourage them to produce their own goods. Therefore, it is no secret that British rule had a significant impact on the lives and economy of Africans. Ruling in Egypt, the main interest of the British was to have control of the trade route starting from Egypt to the Red Sea all the way to India. The Egyptians were receptive to the British and even sent their children to school in Britain. Britain, in return, did not interfere with their Islamic beliefs and even assisted in building more mosques. Meanwhile, in West Africa, the British were more heavily involved with the leaders of these nations, allowing them to rule their people any way they deemed fit, but they still paid their taxes to Britain.
So, guys, did you hear that part? So that's why it's important to know the history of the ruling system that you're seeing in many African countries. So even though they colonized it, like the British, like in West Africa, but it's indirect rule, they allow the Africans themselves to rule the Africans in any way they see fit. But as long as they pay taxes to the British. This was more prevalent in Nigeria, northern Nigeria. This problem you're seeing in Nigeria today stems all the way since those days. You would hear that in this documentary.
They adopted the British language, dressing, lifestyle, and religion, were educated in Britain, and took up positions in the civil service. However, in South Africa, a different scenario played out. There was a mixture of the British Boers, who were descendants of Dutch settlers from the 1600s, and native Africans such as the Xhosa, the Zulu, and the Matabele. The Boers disliked the British rule because they saw the native Africans as inferior to them and treated them as slaves. Tensions between them eventually led to the Boer War from 1899 to 1902, which ended with a British victory and peace terms were drawn. Thus, with these variations, it is difficult to make a conclusive judgment.
So, do you guys see the soldiers here in the picture, the conscripts? So the colonial soldiers were the Africans themselves, as you can see. Just their commanders are the white Europeans who are in charge of these men. As you can see the queen walking here. I think this is probably Kenya. I think this was in Kenya.
About British rule in Africa. Their arrival on the African continent definitely disrupted the traditional African culture and traditions and widened the gap between the people and their chiefs. But it also brought about a change in the economy of the countries, development in terms of infrastructure, education and enlightenment, and medical solutions that were otherwise unknown. It also saw the end and abolishment of some archaic cultures and traditions that were in times past done out of ignorance. For example, the killing of twins. Compared to other European invaders, the British
So yeah, I mean, like some of the tribes, they have some cultures that were weird, one can say. So like, yeah, some of those, yeah, one can say needed to be changed. So like, I mean, killing twins, definitely, you don't want to kill the twins. I mean, making that a culture, that would be wild. Movement said, I am surprised to find out Kwame Nkrumah, the president of Ghana, a great Pan Africanist, died in Bucharest, Romania. Oh yeah, Kwame Nkrumah was he was kicked out of Ghana. He was toppled, so he had to flee Ghana to Guinea Conakry, So yeah, he died outside of Ghana. He wasn't president, at the time. He got kicked out.
were tolerant of the religious beliefs and practices of the people. They were also aggressive and intentional in their fight to end the slave trade. Now, let's take a look at the difference between the French and British colonialism.
Guys, please make sure you hit the like button and share also. And you feel free to hit the Cash App as well, or the Super Chat.
There are so many dissimilarities between the administration of the French and that of the British. While Britain practiced the indirect rule system of government, France adopted a direct rule system of government. The indirect rule system of government utilizes the traditional political institutions of the people to govern them, which gives each colony the opportunity to administer their area as long as the indigenous leaders agree to do whatever the colonial masters ordered. On the contrary, a direct rule system of government is when central authority dominates and takes direct control over the rule and administration of it.
So direct and indirect rule. So people tend to confuse this. This is what I've explained this in previous streams, where I said it wasn't all of Africa that was directly where like the Europeans came and changed everything. Sometimes these rulers, they made deals with the Europeans, so they get to do whatever they want, pay taxes. But if the Europeans, I mean, the English want anything done, they have to agree, or they get removed. KBM, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, I had learned years ago that the British marched many Ghanaian soldiers across Africa to Kenya to fight the Mau Mau. Absolutely, they sure did. They sure did.
Territory that had been largely self-governing. Thus, the British respected traditional rulers while
Stoic One said the French were hands-on. Man, Stoic One, change that to still. Still, they have French troops, in Africa as we speak. French troops, because they don't want to let go of Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, the Sahel countries. They don't want to let go of them. So they have troops there.
France was in contempt for local languages, traditions, and culture. Indirect rule was the brainchild of the British colonial administrator, Frederick Lord Lugard, and was the main system used by the British in overseeing their colonies compared to other systems of government they had in operation. They used African leaders to work on their behalf and imposed obedience on their fellow Africans. Lugard first experimented with the indirect rule in northern Nigeria, which worked with the emirs and the Sokoto Caliphate in charge. But
guys, I want you to hear this section out. So this Lugard, I'm sure you guys have heard of the name Lord Lugard. He played a huge role in, creating Nigeria, the Nigeria you see today. So at the time, like I said, before the Europeans, before this partition of Africa, the Sokoto Caliphate was in place. It was one of the biggest caliphates. I think it's run by the Fulas, that some of you say Fulani. But you're going to find out why these people, even today, the Boko Harams, all the fight, why is going on. Lord Lugard experimented his tactics in northern Nigeria, and that's what's still going on.
British rule failed in the southern part of Nigeria. In the north, where indirect rule systems seemingly worked, the Fulani emirs were autocratic and corrupt, which led to riots from non-Fulanis and non-Muslim protesting their misrule. In his book, The Dual Mandate in British Colonial Africa, Lugard theorized the system of administration that he established in northern Nigeria, where he preserved the judiciary, administrative, and religious structure of the Sokoto Caliphate.
So you hear that. What Lugard, again, he did a give and take. The caliphate, they wanted to maintain the caliphate in the north. So they are like, hey, the British are like, okay, Lugard agreed that you guys get to do what you want, but you're going to agree to some of the things that we want implemented. So as you can see, the British, they are not interested in assimilating the Africans. They were not interested in trying to get the Africans to be Europeans. The Africans there can, whoever had the most power in the area, they used them to control the other groups, for their interests. The French, on the other hand, they want to change the Africans to be French, to think like them. So that's the difference.
Also, while France federated her colonies in West Africa, Britain did not. France operated a federal system where all the territories in West Africa were administered as a whole from the center in Dakar, while the British allowed each territory to operate as a separate entity, and governors had room to act based on what the situation demanded. Britain permitted the function of political associations and allowed the development.
So you guys can see. So the British were able to form alliance with the Fulanis up north. They were able to do that, but the South resisted the British. So that's the two sides on Nigeria. So when you see the protests, the people that go against the British, that's the southern Nigerians. They're the ones that resist the colonization. So in the north, technically they feel like, okay, we're continuing to do what we're doing. We're still in charge. We get to implement our Islamic law. Hey, no big deal. Every now and again, the British need something. So for their own selfish interest, they are not looking at the bigger picture. They are not looking at the bigger picture. So the British governors, they achieve their goal because the European number is smaller. So they cannot dominate the people. But to push their interest, they have to rely on the bigger group, and just let them do whatever they want. And that, if you notice, still in British West Africa, you look at British colonies like former colonies like Sierra Leone, like the Sierra Leone Civil War, or other, like they would say, hey, we came for, bring peace, but they will stand by and let the people kill each other so they can, you know, take over.
Development of parliaments and assemblies, while France withstood the formation of such. Britain did not practice the assimilation policies of the French and as such did not attempt to make English persons out of the Africans. French officials were also frequently transferred from one station to another to prevent them from planting their influence there, while the British allowed their officials to stay for a long time at a place and familiarize themselves with the people and their customs. As a matter of fact, it was in
So yeah, as you can see here, um, this is the pictures they generally show you, and they did happen in some areas. Oh, Chaotic, welcome in the house. Chaotic said, "I'm glad that Europe colonized most of Africa." You know, Chaotic, I'm going to drop the link in a little bit. I'm sure the people would wanna have discussion. Jude said Usman Damfodio was a Fulani who killed Bantus to spread Islam religion in Cameroon. He was in a Fulani. I think he was Hausa. He was Hausa.
incumbent on any British administrator to be fluent in the local language of his domain. Another major difference between the British and French rule in Africa is education. Education was mainly undertaken by religious missionaries and partly financed by public funding in British colonies, but the French were more attuned to public schools in their colonies. Mission schools, which had more African teachers teaching in their local languages, were more efficient at educating a large number of children, and primary school enrollment was on the high side in British colonies. Cooperation between the missionaries and the colonial government cannot be undermined, as this played a huge role in the success of academic pursuit. One other aspect of opposition between British and
So you see this. So you're gonna this was some of the pictures you see from Eastern Africa, especially the Tanzanian colonies. Forced labor was one of them. Especially in the eastern area and the south, the British were using forced labor, and they would whip the people even. But it's done by you see the African conscript here. They just gave him a uniform and put a couple of lines on him, just for whipping people. He got promoted. It looks like that's his job, to whip people. Now you see why some of the African governments, right after the first 30 years of colonization, why the people are so like dictatorial and just outright brutal. They learned it from the Europeans that came there.
the French rule concerned civil liberties. Restriction of civil liberties was harsher on the French side than on the British. In terms of forced labor, French colonies took the form of both labor tax and the use of military conscription for public works. Labor tax required Africans to work for a specified number of days every year on local public work projects, while military conscripts were
Kifaru said, Afridamus, your hat looks like a gift from the British colonizers. No, this is not from the British colonizers. And Duar Dahir said, LOL, no offense, but that's an ignorant comment making colonization seem like it was a good thing. I don't know. I don't know who that is for, but um, you can call later when I drop the link.
used for longer periods of time on larger scale projects. The British, on the other hand, abandoned forced labor in their colonies by ratifying the 1930 International Labour Office Forced Labor Convention. In terms of hierarchical administrative structure, under the French, there was a colonial master based in France who had a subordinate, Governor General, based in Dakar. This was followed by a lieutenant governor located in each of the territories, and the territories were divided into cercles, which were headed by a commandant du cercle.
So, guys, so literally, these people, as you can see, it's structured. Doesn't this sound like a plantation? So the French were literally running a plantation in Africa. So which explains why still um, things are the way they are. Oh, okay, do out there. I see that. Okay, all right, gotcha. So yeah, I mean the French. I think many people are not getting the full story. So the French, they have their boots on the necks of French. I mean, not only the French West Africa. So this is why, like Algerians, the Algerians had to take up arms against them, bombings, and free themselves against the French. And it looks like Mali and Burkina Faso, that's what they would have to eventually do. Because this is current, right? This is current as we speak. I mean, they are not whipping people now, but they are doing other things militarily.
The next in rank were the African chiefs. This was also similar to the British hierarchy, having a Secretary of State for the colonies in London appointed by the British Crown. Next is the governor stationed in the colony, and under the governor were the regional and district commissioners and then the local chiefs. British law differed from colony to colony, but the French had unifying laws across their colonies. Colonialism can be said to be a direct form of imperialism, but it is often said that all colonialism is imperialism, but not all imperialism is colonialism. How far has colonialism been said to have impacted Africa? Or should the question be, how much has Africa allowed colonialism to affect it as a continent in all ramifications? One major impact of colonialism on the African continent is that it brought about underdevelopment in different ways. Despite the fact that colonialism brought education, enlightenment, and some form of civilization, it is partially responsible for Africa's underdevelopment.
So let's see here. Chaotic said the white man took the rubber and did something with it. The white man took the cobalt and did something with it. The white man took the water from the rivers and did something with it, unlike the blacks. Well, chaotic, you missed probably the first part of the stream, but as you can see, this is the partition of Africa. So clearly, when these things were discovered, even the Europeans, in fact, these resources you speak of, this is what pushed Europeans to put the African under their boot, which is what is going on right now. They never, how can the African do something with the rubber when the people who discovered the pneumatic tube came and started robbing the African? So clearly we cannot deny that. You could see here the meeting was held in 1884. So since then, yes, people might say the Africans had independence, but the same system, the same rule is what Africans are still under. So you can't blame African countries for not doing something with the rubber. There was no way to do it.
Not being rooted in African culture, colonial education was essentially literary and had no organic linkage to the African environment. There was no technological base and was therefore in opposition to real or industrial development. Colonial education set out to train clerks, artisans, and interpreters who would serve them in their exploitation of the continent's rich resources and was not aimed at industrialization.
So you see, this is like deprogramming the African mind. So the things that some of these people that say, oh, they are so educated, in this system, what you're seeing, that's why you see that, like, some of these people that become heads of states, right? They steal so much money They can't even invest it wisely because they didn't learn, technical things. Because if you look at take a place like Cameroon, right? Cameroon, for instance, Paul Biya, he was educated under the colonial system. He's a very old man, and you have right Omar Bongo in Gabon. This are French colonies, right? These people were put there by the French people so that they can push the interests of the French, which is why the French would always stand by them. And in Guinea Conakry, the that president that they kicked out of there, Alpha Conde. Think about it. At the time of um, independence, Sekou Touré, among the British West African French colonies, he was the one that stood up against the French and told them, "Yes, we want our independence." And you know what the French did? I mean, they took everything, quote unquote, they came with. Anything that they cannot take with them, they destroyed. They poured concrete in pipes, sewers, destruction, just to bankrupt, to make sure they don't leave anything behind. That's how brutal the French are. So, like these nations, most of the ones that you're hearing this stability from is because they have to do the bidding of the French. Like Dakar. Dakar is the capital of the colonial France, and they still run their colonies from Dakar. So that's why Mali, like the sanction on Mali, Senegal's president plays a huge role in ECOWAS. And believe it or not, they voted to put the sanction on Mali. So that's how much power France still has. They get the other Africans to vote to implement sanction against the other Africans. So that's why I said, you have to understand the political aspect of it before you just say, let's unite, let's unite. Because the regular people in Mali and the other African sub-region, I mean, I'm sure that, people are united. People are clicking, people want to do commerce. But because a small group of people who want to push their own interests, remember what I was telling you? The wolf teaching the sheep. So these people, this colonial, the Europeans, they only taught the Africans things that would help promote their interests. So now you see why Africa, these countries are where they are. In fact, if you look at what Africa countries went through this era, man, you got to give it to African nations, most of them, to even be where they are today. Seriously. For you to be, you just doing your own thing. It doesn't matter what is going on. For complete strangers to come and pounce on you and completely just dominate you, deplete you, that's a hard situation to recover from. And then every single time you try to build up, they're like, okay, we're out the door. They foment division and war amongst the people. That's what's happening. People can pretend like, oh no, it's just the Africans who are violent. But how come where the meddling, the African countries where the meddling is not heavy or is not there, there's no war? How come? Put two and two together. Put two and two together.
Or technological development. The introduction of colonial education made Africans abandon their arts and crafts, which were sculpting, cloth weaving, carving, and mining, but instead settle for just reading and writing. Colonialism also distorted the African pattern of economic growth and development. There was disarticulation in the provision of social amenities, transportation, production of goods, and pattern of urbanization. Africans were not allowed to go into manufacturing, but rather relegated to exporting raw materials and importing.
Guys, so chaotic, did you hear that part? That answered your question. The Africans who nobody can deny from 1884, the Europeans powers you heard came and dominated the place and sowed the seeds of division and hatred. So Africans were not allowed to partake in the industrial revolution. So Africans are only allowed to be in the department of sending raw materials. Chaotic, don't worry. The link would be coming in a few minutes. This documentary would end. I'm gonna drop the link here in a minute. But this also, is like the divide and conquer tactic that is used. And also look at it, Africans, they have the resources, but the education system that was pushed there, I mean, think about it, like even like let's say a place like South Korea, because sometimes people like to compare and say, look at South Korea, they had their independence at the same time with other African nations. But South Korea, what are they backed by? What type of education were they given? You have to take all those into account as well.
Finished products. Even food is being imported, which has led to food shortage and escalation in the prices of foods that can be otherwise grown locally. Road networks are not left out. The colonial masters focused on building rail tracks and roads that would facilitate their export of raw materials found in Africa, and were not interested in building a transport network to link rural areas, which would bring about economic growth and development. Another problem colonialism caused was the concentration in only a particular area. Most of the social amenities provided were focused on major cities, and minor towns and villages were ignored. The urbanization pattern was disjointed. This led to rapid rural-urban migration, overcrowding in major cities, poor hygienic conditions of living, a rise in social vices, and tribal and ethnic conflicts. In conclusion, colonialism brought devastating consequences to Africa that the continent is yet to recover from. It came to ensure that the African continent would always be dependent on their European colonial masters and will not be self-sufficient. It is indeed a sad story.
Yes, indeed. I have dropped the link, ladies and gentlemen. If you disagree with the documentary or if you've never known about it, please call in. And if you think, you know, um, Africa actually should be recolonized, by all means, hit the link. We have somebody here that you guys are going to enjoy. Let me welcome Chaotic Truth. Chaotic,
Can,
thank you for calling in.
absolutely. Salute to you, sir. Salute to everyone that is listening. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Afrodamus is an incredible content creator.
Thank
Uh,
you, Chaotic.
before I give respect to the most beautiful woman that the world has ever seen, Queen Elizabeth, I have to pay
Wait. The Queen Elizabeth of England.
Queen Elizabeth II of England,
Okay,
correct, sir.
okay, okay.
Uh, I have to
The,
pay
the most
respect,
beautiful woman.
the most beautiful woman, and I will get into that in a minute. But before I give respect to her, I want to give respect and pay homage to the thousands of good Americans that perished 21 years ago in New York City during the September 11th terrorist attacks
Oh yeah,
that,
that's today.
that were carried out by primitive people from the Middle East, respectfully. Sir,
So
colonization.
chaotic.
Oh, okay. I was gonna go
All
ahead.
right.
Go ahead.
So you were saying that
Yes.
What did Africans do with the rubber? And
Yeah.
so okay,
Yeah.
what do you want to say about
I
the
wanted to say,
documentary and everything
yeah,
that
it's
surrounds 1884 up to where African
yeah.
countries are today?
Whether it's 1884 up to where Africa is today,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's 1504 up to where Africa it is today. If it were not for the colonizer, if it were not for the European powers, particularly the ones that are mentioned in the video, France and Britain, Africa would still be a backwards, uncivilized continent that it was when our ancient ancestors had complete domination over over the continent. I don't believe a lot of the things.
And so
Yes, yes, sir.
so you do realize European industrialization,
Yes,
right,
sir. Yes, sir.
depended heavily on African raw material.
Absolutely. And I wanted to get into
So
that.
so that would mean
Yes,
that,
sir.
right, without Africa, then the European also wouldn't have achieved what they achieved today.
Yes, sir. Uh, yes, sir. I wanted to point out that what you are saying is absolutely correct. Um, hold on for a
No,
second.
but wait, before you get into that, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you
I'm
so
on a
you're
live
you're
stream with
saying
Afro Diamonds. Give me a second, Shauna.
you're saying Africans,
It's a piece of
Africa
paper.
being colonized was justified.
Yes, sir. No, I'm not saying that it was justified. I could argue that it was God's will for the backwards Africa.
Wait.
Now you asked me
Wait.
a question, my good sir. I would
Okay.
like to
Okay.
answer you now, but I
Okay.
don't want to cut you off though. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I believe that it was God's will for the backwards African to be civilized. Um, yes, you are correct. The European would not have been in a position to advance his own society if it were not for the raw materials that were in Africa. However, our ancestors, for I would argue 100,000 years, were literally walking on diamond, walking on gold, walking on cobalt, walking.
Wait.
Sir,
Did
they were
you do you but do you know that we
sir.
in
We didn't.
Africa, did you know gold was used, to create a lot of, art. It was used as money. What do you think Mansa Musa took to
Mansa
to,
Musa, sir. Do
to
you really want me to go?
even hold on, even before
Yes,
Mansa
sir.
Musa, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you have to remember Mansa Musa was in the early empire.
Yes,
There
sir.
were others even along the coast. So haven't you seen African art from
It's yeah.
from
It looks like a pasta collage that my 5-year-old students do. I never taught that young.
have you been to a museum?
It's not just museums, sir. I've seen original African art, and it is not that great compared to European art,
Are
sir.
you so do you
It's
think
it's not,
most museums, if you go there, like let's say Europe, you
sure,
remove African art,
sir,
there wouldn't be a whole
sir,
lot left.
sir. Let's be completely honest. Let's just look at the columns in Rome. You have the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian columns.
Hey, why we have this time keep?
Okay,
Why
I
we
can.
have that bit?
Okay,
Hold on. Why
are
we
we
got?
gonna let
Hold
me
on.
talk? Are we
He
gonna let me
can't
talk? Or are you
fire.
gonna cut
Let
me
him
off?
talk. He can fire,
Okay,
please.
I respect
He
everybody's
can fire.
opinion.
You might
Thank
he
you so
can
much,
fire. You
sir.
might not like
Yeah,
what chaotic is saying, but you would have your
yeah.
turn. Let the
Now,
man talk.
now again, am I saying that African art is not great? I'm not saying that. Now, here goes the thing,
So
Afrodamus.
so you're saying,
Go ahead, sir.
in your, is this an opinion or a fact that you're saying that you're picking out,
Sir,
the Colosseum?
Clearly, it's an
Which
opinion
African
because
art
it's
are
not
you
here.
comparing it to?
I
Which
am
which
comparing it
civilization?
to all African art, sir.
All
The
of Africa.
Sir, yes. What we have to understand,
Is
sir,
this including Egypt? Is
sir,
Egypt
a
and all
pow,
that?
sir. The hieroglyphs literally look like a teenage kid in homeroom drew that. Let's be honest. It's blocky. It's not that impressive, sir.
My brother, you seem to
Darth Raven,
consider
can I
yourself
talk?
sophisticated.
I listen to everybody. I'm
That
quiet.
Raven,
I wait. Why can't people listen to me when I'm
yes,
talking?
yes,
Because you're an
please,
idiot.
guys.
I listen to
God
everybody.
Raven, don't worry, you have your chance.
I listen to
Let the
everybody for
man
20,
talk.
30 mother effing minutes.
Yeah, go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead,
You're
Tom.
go ahead,
crying
Let the
already. You're an
bitch talk.
idiot.
go ahead.
Let the bitch
Go ahead.
talk. Let the
Thank
bitch talk.
Don't call
Hold
me a
on.
bitch, sir. I'm not your mom.
Go, you can please let's keep it clean here, guys.
I'm not your
please.
mother, sir. Don't call me a bitch.
Please,
Sorry, bitch.
guys, please.
Now,
Let's be civilized.
You can't be civilized with these people, sir. Sorry
Go
about
ahead.
that, Afra. Now here goes the thing, sir. Again, sir, those rubber trees in Congo were there for 100,000 years. You would have thought that the people there speaking Lingala, they had a unified language in that area. They could have did something with the rubber. They did not do anything. The same thing with
But
Mansunuku.
what did you want them to do with the rubber?
Sir, they could have built vehicles 1,000 years ago.
But they didn't. But
there was oil in sir. There was
didn't
oil.
need
You have
it.
to say anything.
Sir. And that is the reason why Africa was always stuck in
So-
biblical
so-
times, sir.
wait,
Because they
wait.
didn't do because just like what you said, they didn't do anything with it. And
No,
that's the reason.
but what you're saying is right.
Yes.
Because rubber, wasn't needed till the pneumatic tube was discovered.
Sir.
That's like in the late 1800s.
Sir. Now
so that's
sir,
what made
the white man.
Have you heard of Leopold, King Leopold?
I've heard of King Leopold, and I've heard of
Okay, that's what made him
I understand.
wealthy. All these things were not, when diamond was discovered in Sierra Leone.
Sir, all I'm saying is, and I'm trying to I listen.
No, it wasn't that long. It was 1930.
Sir.
So a lot of these things, there's still a lot of
diamond had been there for a millennium.
We don't know that. But we don't know
diamond come from the diamond. Shut up. Darth Raven, please, sir, respect me, sir, because when you guys are on here talking, I'm quiet. Now here goes the thing.
So diamond was created in Sierra Leone.
Hold on, guys. Hold on.
I'm trying to speak to Afra.
Okay. He's talking to me, guys. Let me
shut up. Shut your negative ass up.
Sir, thank you for dropping him, sir. I'm almost done, sir. Sir,
so what I was saying is, sir, because you said it was there forever, right?
Diamond comes from the universe, sir. It came from
but again,
how come they didn't do anything with the diamond?
There was what are the Europeans doing with the diamond?
Sir, the European
for jewelry.
The European for jewelry, sir, the European is using diamond for technology purposes now, sir.
Okay, so in 1930, that's when diamond was discovered. If it was there, right, somebody would have found it just floating along the river, just like they did in the past. That's how it happened in some of these places. And the Africans were able to know that this is something distinct.
Diamond.
They found it along. Some of the people find it in the river.
Sir, give me on my show, I give everybody an opportunity to talk and retalk. Give me a second here. Diamond, gold, and so many other raw materials literally comes from the universe. It literally comes from it literally came from the Big Bang. So the fact is that yes, did Mansa Musa have gold? Sure he did. But what did he finance that still exists to this day? He went into Egypt and bankrupted their economy. But you know what that did? It gave the Arab knowledge that the West African had gold.
I already talked about him.
So just like he was showboating, and his showboating led to the Arab invasion of Africa. That's the problem. So the same thing now when you have Negroes putting gold over them, showboating, you're bringing too much attention to yourself. And that's the problem. You didn't have a nationalized language. You didn't have a nationalized military. You didn't have any fortifications that were nationalized. So it would have been easy for invaders to come in there. And let
me ask you this.
Go ahead, sir.
Do you think that Africans had their own products, own industries prior to the Europeans coming there?
Sir, building mud huts is not industry, sir.
No, but do you know that there was trade between?
Sir, they were trading fish. That is not.
They were trading what?
They were trading fish. That's not a
Are you serious right now, Keotic? Are you messing with me?
Can I say something now? Can I say something now?
Okay,
Can you
Keotic,
drop
let's
this
allow
dude?
that. Hold on.
Can I say something now? He's had enough
Can
to
you
say.
drop this British guy? He's pissing me off already.
Hold on, Keotic. Let's allow others also to speak.
Okay, go ahead. So you keep cutting me off, Darth. Go ahead, Darth.
Go ahead,
I'm not cutting you off. Now I realize, I mean, this point has been made to me like many times.
Speaking the white man's language right now. Listen to him.
Can you be quiet?
You gotta let him
the same type of stupidity
you gotta mute up,
Americans demonstrate. The same idiocy and the same stupidity and the same naivety African Americans demonstrate is the same thing that white Americans demonstrate. They all watch the same TV. They all watch American television. So they have the same naivety and stupidity like this guy is speaking right now. You will do well to know that Europeans consider Americans to be the most stupidest people and uneducated people in the planet. You African Americans demonstrate the same type of stupidity. I'm sorry, because you've just spoken a whole bunch of stupidity. Afridamus is there to even correct you. I don't even need to say anything. Africans had industries, but you couldn't even mention one of them and all that kind of stuff. You didn't even know one of them. You said, oh, mud huts. They were just doing mud huts. They had textile industries running around. You see, the industries that it took to build America, those industries were exported from the slaves. They were expected to the United States for Africans to do it on a larger scale. Those are the industries that built the United States. They were already happening in Africa. So you're an idiot. Those industries were already there. So the United States basically took industries that were happening in Africa and made Africans
ignorant.
Hold on, guys, please. It can fire. Also, when I bring you in, guys, understand this is a public stream. No matter how much you disagree with somebody, don't destroy the stream. Keep your language clean. Don't threaten anybody here. None of that. Keep the language, please, guys. I'm not trying to control your speech. None of that. But be respectful of the stream and the people that are listening. Let's respectfully disagree.
All I'm saying is the guy is an idiot because he demonstrates the same type of stupidity. He doesn't even realize the industries that built America were actually started from Africa as well. There is no industry that you could have mentioned that the slaves did that was not happening in Africa. You're an idiot. You're an idiot, my friend.
All right. Thank you, that Raven. Okay, Somali supremacy. Go ahead.
I think this guy is just a troll. He's just trolling us. This guy is so typical African American coon. He doesn't know anything about Africa. He just uses the same logic which has been used against him by the white man. So it's just understandable. The other day he was saying that Somalis have a lower IQ than Nigerians because Nigeria is more developed than Somalia. So by using that logic, he's implying that Africans have the lowest IQ of all people. So Americans and the white people are the smartest people. Do you believe that, Chaotic? Do you believe that? Do you think that's true?
All right, thank you.
Is he asking me where I can answer a question?
Hold on. Somali, are you asking Chaotic?
I'm asking you,
sir.
Do you believe that
are you going to ask me a question and give me a chance to answer you, sir?
Yes, I will give you.
Okay, I'm going to answer you. Okay, I'm going to answer you in one word. Yes. Now, can I ask you a question? Can you go flush your toilet? Can you go flush your toilet and we can all hear it? Let me prove it that you have a toilet, Somali.
Okay.
Prove it right now. Let's hear your toilet.
Wait.
Let's hear your toilet.
Can I say something now?
Hold on. Okay, guys.
Not shitting in the hole.
Hold on. Okay. All right. You can fire, guys. Let's stick with the topic. The colonization you guys have heard. So I know you guys are upset at Chaotic, but don't get distracted. Just stay with the topic. You can disagree with him on the points, but just focus. He can fire. Go ahead.
Yeah. Respect to everyone, including this guy. You see, I understand what he's doing. If he we faulty in a lot of things as Black people, Africans, and Black people in the West. we faulty in a lot of ways. You feel me? I think we should move on though. You feel me? But what I'm saying is, in that past that we looking at is one thing we got to realize is things could be fair. See me? So what happened is unfairness, unwillingness to share. The Africans was willing to share, but the Europeans was not. You feel me? They
But
wanted
it can fire.
everything.
Let me ask you this. It can fire. So
Yeah.
because you think about 1884, they sat at a table, right? And discussed it. The African didn't know anything about it. So it's the same system.
No, it's like what
So
I'm saying. This plan is bigger, is way bigger than even that, even the Berlin Conference. The plan of white people is way bigger than that.
really,
This
go ahead.
plan is like 2,000 years old. You
Mhm.
feel me? When they conquered Egypt and when they translated Egyptian cosmology and turned it into Christianity. You feel me? And then put away the black god and then put a white god. All of these things is coming down the line, and you can see the generation of their plans to invade Africa. You feel me? It was inevitable. Berlin Conference was inevitable. They just became powerful enough to do so. You feel me? But it was always in their plan. You feel me? They always was planning on being unfair to Africa, because I'm telling you, yes,
So
they had some.
Ikan, how do you feel? Because chaotic came. He said Queen Elizabeth is the most beautiful queen ever, and you know
Yeah.
he praised
Well,
her. What do
yeah.
you think
Well,
about
me,
that statement
well,
compared to
me,
yours?
I oppose that. I just when bros say that, I just see them as a bootlicking Negro. You feel me?
Yeah.
But I'm saying this, right? Because let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. If my oppressor do good to me, I'll stab him in the back for my poorest brother. How about that?
All
You
right.
you just you just gave me a nice house. You just gave me a nice car. All of that shit as my oppressor. Me, in my frame of mind, I'll stab you in the back as soon as I get, just for a poor Negro on the street. I'll do that. You
Thank you,
hear me?
Ikan. Thank you, Ikan.
So,
Let's
so
bring
hold
in.
on. So hold on. So hold on.
You,
So
you get a
a
chance.
little
You
one
get
sec.
another chance.
One more word. One
Okay, go
more
ahead.
word. So a little boy who feels all cocky, his in his fucking sorry, in his Stockholm syndrome, thinking that he's safe with his flush fucking toilet. You feel me? Don't feel so safe, bro. Because you don't own rap. Rap should be ours, but you don't own it. You get 20% of rap. So how smart are we in general? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kifaru.
Yeah, thank you for
Adriamos,
having me, Afrodamus. Well, this is what I'm just gonna say. I'm not here to argue with people who consider like confused, or just trolling. But before I say anything, I'm gonna say this: colonization had zero benefit for Africa. Zero. There's nothing Africa.
Kifaru, can I add on to what
Let,
you
let, let,
said?
let me just finish. And
That
Dap,
Raven,
you
allow
also,
allow him.
yeah.
Allow him.
Africa has not benefited anything from colonization. Zero. We've had it all wrong, all the way wrong. Before colonization, okay, I know Africa was doing great. Africans were doing really, really great. If they know about it, I know these people, they talk about Africa, they have very recent history in their mind. There was this guy, they call him Leo Frobinus. What this guy is saying, that African art it has no value. But this was right in the 1970s when he came to Benin City and he saw this head, they call it terracotta. He said, this thing cannot be made by an African. It is so perfect to be created by an African. But this was just a standard crafted by Benin's people. He had to take these things and put different stamp of European people's name on them. Okay, another example was like in the 17 was that around the 1300 when the Great Zimbabwe was building their brick walls. Europe was fighting the Crusaders, and they had a plague and everyone killing them. That was Africa. That was not colonization. There are so many things in history. We have the Timbuktu University. We were in a part we were growing. So when you come and say colonialism made us better, there's no evidence. You can't say anything that colonialism made us better because we're moving in a path that it was better than anything that this European has done to the continent. So for now, I'll just leave it there and then I'll speak later.
All right, let's have hold on. Let's have no, that Raven, Malik, and Deep Sleep. They gotta speak too. Allow Malik to speak. You will get your chance. Malik, go ahead.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. Hi, how are you?
How you doing, Malik?
Yeah, I'm cool. So I just wanna add something to this program. Listening to Chaotic, he was saying that one thing I agree with him at some point. But at some point, I disagree with him. The point I disagree with him saying that, Africans will have been like running out if the Europeans did not come there. So my point is now, I'm asking him a question. When did the European came to Africa for colonization? That is just in the 1800s, right? Okay. Now, prior to the 1800s, okay, we all see that nobody can go to Mecca for Hajj with butt naked and trying to tawaf the Kaaba. Mansa Musa did that, so that means they were wearing clothes. So I'm just reminding Chaotic about that, and also up to today there is a UNESCO heritage site in Mali, which Mansa Musa built in the 12th century. That is prior to the coming of colonization. That is like Sankara University and the mosque. And up to today, if you go, whether it's mold brick or whatsoever, but it's an architecture. Different part of the world have their unique architectures, depending on the area you live and the availability of the resources you have. And that's what he failed to understand. In Europe, most of these, these buildings, big buildings you see, because they have rocks there. Okay, for example, in the Gambia, we don't have basalt, the basalt that they use to build story buildings. We don't have it there. So we use redstone to build our houses. Sometimes we go to Senegal to order it, to get to build our story buildings. So he got to understand, that doesn't mean that you are not civilized. It is another way of civilization that we had prior to the coming of the British, like India and the rest of the continent.
Well, Malik, also you can because Chaotic said the people didn't wear clothes. Talk about Dar Fano, like the people.
Yeah, exactly.
They weaved. They were trading clothes.
I'm so sorry. Hold on. I think Malik is just another Arab wannabe. I think he's an Arab wannabe. The way he's defending the Arabs.
No, he's not. Calm
down.
Let's follow some other. Yeah,
West Africa. Do you know the history? The history of Arabs in West Africa. Do you know? Yes, you know. I'm just asking him.
Yes,
don't interrupt the host. Go ahead, Malik.
Yes. So the Darfano you are talking about exactly up to today, there are people who move, like handmade clothes in our country. Up to today, they call it Darfano. So those people were making those clothes out of cotton, and then they were farming cotton and making those clothes. Although you can say it was not industrialized like today, you have been, but remember the population was almost not also big as today. You understand? Yeah. So people were.
I did tell you the industries that built America are the industries that were in West Africa. They just took industries.
Hold on. That Raven. Guys, allow the person to finish their statement before you cut them off.
One thing I agree with Chaotic is industrial development it is definitely a white man thing. And the reason why when you have to calculate the dates when the industrial revolution starts, that was just in the 18th century. And that time, even if Africa wanted to do that, they could not have the chance because they were under colonialism. You see the problem. So it's not because the Africans, do not get good minds to do those things, but because they were prevented of doing it. Because in this world, people copy from each other, like China. China in the 90s we are very poor, but because of the Soviet technology that came there, they industrialized through that.
Thank
And
you very much.
big nation. But that doesn't mean that China is primitive. People learn from each other in this world. You see, development comes to one area, you photocopy it, you bring it to your area. That is how the world works. But the way he is thinking, the Africans were living, I don't know exactly whether this man is even from Nigeria, because if he is from Nigeria, he will know that the Igbos have their land, and the Yorubas, the Fulanis, have their land, and they were doing good before colonization. And those are lands that people rule. Yeah, so that's all I have to say about it until later.
All right, thank
Can I
you.
say
Thank
something
you.
quick?
Okay, real quick, and then we have deep sleep.
African, let me just say
No,
something.
hold on.
Say
Somali
something.
supremacist. Hold on, you will get your chance. Please don't have me drop you again. If you keep, interrupting, I'll have to drop you. Please allow people to talk. Go ahead.
Okay, just give me a chance.
Hold on, Somali. Hold on. Let me say something.
Go ahead.
The industries that were in West Africa were the industries that were utilized in the United States to build up the economy of the United States from the get-go. Those industries they needed skill sets, and the skill sets were found in West Africa because they were already there in minute scales. They just they became made to be on a larger scale because the United States needed to make money to build up. They needed to make industry to make money. So it was West African industries that built the United States. If you didn't know that, there's no industry that you could mention, chaotic, that it doesn't exist in West Africa that took all those plantation industries were already there as well. That's just, by the way, that's just something to mention. And by the way, people tend to mistake colonialism for something as in, yes, there was an exchange. There was an exchange that occurred. But people misunderstand the fact that the word itself means to take over, to settle, to take over the whole place. If you look at examples of colonialism that had complete and no disturbance at all, in Australia, in Native America, the people were replaced and taken over. When human beings talk about taking over the moon or going to the moon or Mars, they talk about going over to colonize, to take over the moon or Mars.
All right, thank you.
Hold on, let me finish.
Hold on, thank you.
Let me finish after that.
No, you will get a chance, please.
One more after that. One more.
No, hold on. Allow deep sleep, then we will come back to you in a minute, okay? Go ahead, deep sleep.
Okay, good evening, Alfred Thomas, and to the whole chat. Yeah, look, I'm not really going to address what Chaotic Truth said because I think everyone pretty much touched up on it. What I just wanted to say was, look, you were actually right. The way colonization happened, I think I'm glad that you touched upon it. It's usually tribes that feel like they are outside of the periphery of power within their own region, collaborating with the European powers to try and, if that didn't happen,
Oh, sorry. What happened?
No data.
Deep sleep. We can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
God, somebody else.
No.
Oh, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I accidentally muted myself. Yeah, I just want to say the way you touched up on colonialism is actually far better than what most people understand about it, which is a lot of tribes that were smaller tribes that were in the periphery of power within their regions, collaborating with European powers that allowed for these European powers to be successful in colonizing the continent. And yeah, what Chaotic Truth said, look, I think we need to understand that pre and post-industrial Europe are two completely different places. And when you compare pre-industrial Europe to to Africa at the time, they were pretty much living comparable lives, especially for the peasants, even upper classes. And the whole life quality was similar. It's really industrialization that shot Europe to being the greatest region pretty much in world history, and still probably the most dominant one even till this day. So yeah, I think that has to be outlined when he says, oh, they came and civilized us. That doesn't really make any sense, but to each his own.
Abi,
Somali, hold on. That Raven, allow Somali.
I'm gonna get away. I'm gonna go. Let me just say something.
Wait.
I'm gonna go away. Let me just say
that Raven. You cannot always just interrupt them.
And
allow the man to talk.
Can I just say?
Go ahead.
Aphrodemis.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Somali.
Can I talk?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think we all know that some Africans are still like till this day. Can we agree upon this? So I think chaotic probably is one of those Africans who are naked till this day. So it's just fathomable, just something.
Somali supremacist. You said
people like this.
Can I ask you something?
You can, yeah. Go ahead.
You were saying that Malik supports the Arabs, you were saying something about that.
Yeah, I have told you. You have some West Africans who are just, so they are Arab wannabes. They just want to be Arabs. They want to go to heaven by being obedient to the Arabs, and that's just the mentality of all West African Muslims. I have seen it.
Why do you talk about West African? What do you mean by West African?
I know that because West African.
So why are they different from other parts of African?
There is a great difference between the way Islam is spread.
No, but I will tell you, East Africans are the ones who want to be Arabized. What are you talking about?
No.
So don't talk about West African. So listen. Listen, if you want to make your statement, don't bring West African in your mouth because I'm going to come for you.
Kifaru, just okay, guys, don't make this West East.
Okay.
Yes. Don't do that shit with me.
What I'm saying is I'm talking of the mentality of the people. West African Muslims, they are just obedient. They see Arabs as superior to them, and that's just the reality. When you see someone,
sees Arabs as superior to them.
You wrap yourself more than you don't have a culture. West Africans have got a culture. You don't have a culture.
No.
Arabs culture. What are you talking about?
Epidemics.
Yes, that's what you don't talk to.
One time.
Hold on, guys. One mic, please. One mic.
Most people don't realize that, but they are just so obedient. They are so pro-Arab. They are so anti-African. They are so anti-themselves. But they just don't feel that way. They just don't know because they are not being taught.
I think Somalis.
This one talking from someone who is completely Arabized in this country. This is just out of control.
Okay, guys, we'll come to that. Let's allow Judah to add on to the.
Let me finish my point.
Let me say something. I was
making another point. I was talking about this guy, chaotic. I think we all know that some Africans are naked, and these guys they really need a civilization, and we didn't help them as Africans who are raised who are most civilized. So these guys,
wait, Somali, hold on, Somali, hold on,
and it's
guys.
Can I come in?
Wait, I want to ask Chaotic something. Hey, Chaotic, have you ever been to Africa by any chance?
I have.
Oh,
I've been to Nigeria, sir.
Okay, you have. Okay,
I've been there twice. Yes. Sir.
Okay.
Some people he's saying the truth. Why is everybody talking stuff about chaotic truth?
No, speak. Go ahead. You have the floor. What do you want to say about what because you said what Chaotic said. You agree with him. Go ahead. You got the floor.
Yes, Afidemus, thanks for giving me the floor one more time. I'm a proud Pan-Africanism I'm a proud Pan-African, as you know, right? Can I please stop?
That Raven, please.
Can I please stop? Right. So this is the thing. I align with what chaotic truth is. I don't know why most Africans really don't want to make things be realistic, right? When the Europeans came, Africa was in a stage where nothing was going. This
Are
is
you
just the truth.
are
It
you
was
all
not
right
as
in your
it, it,
mind for saying making that
it was
statement?
Kifaru,
Africa was known as a black.
let
Can
him
I
say
finish
his point.
talking, man?
Because
Why this is the
Kifaru,
thing? Why do
he
most
has the right
Africans?
to support to agree with what
Okay,
chaotic.
cool.
Let's hear.
I'll
He has
listen.
his
I'll
own
listen.
perspective. Let him
I'll
let him
listen.
let
All
him
right.
go. Go ahead, Judah.
And this guy that is even talking about West Africa, he's not from West Africa. He's from Cameroon, aside, but he's claiming West Africa. I don't know why. It's just crazy how. But this is the thing, right? When the Europeans came to Africa, Africa was known as a black continent. Nothing was going for Africans. Even till today, some people will say, "Oh, the Europeans, they have been in power for how many ages? Africa is just coming on." I'm like, what you mean? Everybody came into existence at the same time. Why you think they have gone so far and you guys haven't gone so far? That can tell you how.
Because you're so low level and so stupid, you don't even understand the reason why you fucking idiot. Shut the fuck up. You're so low level, you don't even know the reason why.
Calm down, God. Calm down, God.
Down. You from Gambia. Me and you have been in various platforms. Can I finish talking?
Finish talking.
Okay.
I put him in the back.
I appreciate it, man. You're so nice. This is the thing, right? Africans really don't like when people give it to them. They feel like they are being disrespectful, but we are all Africans. This is the thing. When the Europeans came, they consider Africa as nothing was going. They saw Africa as a land where they could take resources because of the industrial revolution that was fast, because in those days, instead of Europeans doing things by hand, they had industries that were manufacturing goods in high quantity. So they were quick, they were running out of resources.
So you don't think okay, let's say the Europeans, as you heard, nobody can dispute this. They came to Africa for the resources to, because Africa brought them back with the resources.
Right. But this is the thing, right? Even some of Africans wanted Europeans to colonize them. This is the thing. Even in Cameroon, right? Right. Okay. Even in Cameroon, we had kings that were writing letters to the British, asking them to come and colonize them. And you also have these kings in Nigeria. Like you talk of the Sokoto, you talk of there's another
no. You're using the wrong terminology.
There's
it's not colonized.
Listen,
calm down,
can I finish talking?
You're using wrong terminology.
Hold on.
It's annexing and not colonization. Those are two different.
Annexation is the same. When somebody is calling you to come and annex them, it means you are calling them to come and colonize you. What are you talking about?
No. Then you don't understand the term. I'll explain to you when it's my time. Finish what they say.
If somebody is calling you to come and annex him,
go ahead. So wait, Judah. So you're saying the chiefs themselves?
The chiefs were called. Okay, this is the thing, right? Before the Europeans, before the scramble of Africa, Africans were already dealing with the Europeans doing slavery. And some Africans felt like, they have been used to the British people doing slavery because they were getting goods from Europeans like Germans, the British, and other Spanish and Spain. So they felt like, when the scramble came, they felt like, they were already used to these people. So they wanted them to come over and annex them, which in turn means colonization. You have a king in Nigeria called King Jaja of Opobo. He was one of another king that called for British to come and colonize them. You also have chiefs and kings in Cameroon. There's one king in Douala called Rudolph Douala. He also called for British to come and colonize them. And these things happen all over Africa. In other countries like Ghana, you have kings.
No, but Judah, did you know that? Did you know, in the Berlin Conference, none of these chiefs had a say. They didn't have a representative.
They weren't. The kings didn't have nothing to do with colonization. They were who were they in the first place?
Okay, wait. You said it happened in Ghana, right? But remember, the Ashantis were running most of what we know to be Ghana even today. Did you know
there wasn't no Ghana back in the days? Ashanti could
wait. But the territory existed. Did you know? They fought 100-year war trying to repel the British.
No, man. This is what you don't understand.
This is documented. This is
Right,
a fact.
right. But there were some chiefs that called for British to come and annex them. People that were fighting were other people, because what happened is
they want their allies. Because
right.
okay, wait.
Thank you. That's the word. That's allies.
Maybe
Thank you,
wait.
Afrodamus.
So because like in the Sokoto area, okay, the British were not telling them what to do, how to run their laws. Just
right, but that's indirect rule. And this is why English Africans are so naive and myopic, because the British use what they call indirect rule.
Wait.
What is
Let me
indirect
ask
rule?
you. Let me ask.
Right.
So you're saying the British West Africa are more myopic than the French West Africans?
Exactly, because
who
the
would
British,
you say is free? Who would you say were freer and still freer? French or English?
all Africans today are not even free. But let me tell you what the British do. The British come to your country, right? They take somebody that look like you and put him in power, and they go behind and control him. That's what they call indirect rule.
Yeah, I explained
that.
that.
Own people, right? They use your own people to think. Okay, they tell Ghana, go ahead and create your own currency. They tell Nigeria, go ahead and create your own currency. But there's British behind that currency. Nigeria doesn't control it. That's what they call indirect.
No. In British West African countries, I'll tell you, like, let's say Gambia is a small country, right? Our central bank, we have a central bank, has nothing to do with Britain. Like Senegal, for instance, let me give you Senegal. The French speakers, they are on the CFA. They don't have their own central bank.
No, you fail.
Wait, hold on. Let me finish. Okay. So we have our own central bank. Ghana has their own central bank. Nigeria, Sierra Leone, you go on and on.
So don't you think
your currency is pegged to another currency? Your currency is not stable.
But still.
Do you know what
I'm about to leave. Can I say one last thing before I leave?
Do you know what peg means? It means your currency is not a solid currency. It's backed by European currency. And that's what they call indirect.
Wait, still, it's not like the French area. That's what I'm trying to explain.
It has no value. That's what you feel.
Hold on.
Because that's the British system. That they use. You feel like you have power.
Okay, Judy.
Wait. Go ahead, Chaotic. Go ahead.
Jude, thank you so much.
Man, you tell me off for me to make my point, and you just ask somebody else to talk.
We got it.
Wait, go ahead, Chaotic.
Yes, guys, I'm about to leave, but Jude, thank you so much, sir, for being the only level-headed.
No problem, sir. You spoke the truth, man.
Thank you so much, sir. And Somali, thank you so much, Jude. And Somali, if you are still there, sir, I would still like to hear that toilet flushing in your great country of Somalia. Go ahead, sir. We'll give you like 3 seconds. Flush a toilet, sir. Going once, going twice.
Yeah. Can I say something, Alfred?
Bro, you're a bumpy, bro. Your ancestors were slaves. How can you talk Nigeria? Do you know what?
Flush your toilet.
Nigger area.
Thank you so much, Somali, for proving that. And you have a nice bathroom, by the way. Somali.
You're a bumpy, bro.
Hey, have a good one, Afrodamus. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, Chaotic.
Yes. Can I say something, Afrodamus?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So when we talk about colonization, okay, colonization lasted like for almost 70 years. I think that's the time frame that people could accept that was like active 60, colonization.
Most of them.
But that was the time that in Europe, that all other countries in this world were like, they were understanding who they are. That was the time in Europe where there was massive change in like industrial revolution, people's like the mind education. All other European countries were going through that transformation during that time. But Africans were stagnant. We did not have that opportunity to move with those people.
Hold on, Kifaru. Yes. Okay, Kifaru, what do you think about? What do you think about? What Jude is saying about?
I think he does not. He has some idea, but he does not have the full detail. I'm going to explain to him. Okay, but I think you try to explain this to him. He's talking about he's talking about annexation. Okay, in Cameroon, huh?
Somebody's echoing. Hold on.
Yeah. So
guys, mute. Guys,
if you're not
on the mic, mute.
Yes. Yes, these African chiefs, they saw these European people as like Allah, as you said, to way to protect them. Okay, so they say, okay, if these British people can be my allies, they come and be my friend, they can annex me, then maybe I'll be safe from the other colonial masters fighting. Colonization is when you completely submit your culture, your way of life to someone else's culture. But that was not what's happening. If you see the treaties of annexation of these countries, they had treaties. They say, okay, you're going to allow us to do our customs, our chiefs will be respected, our way of life. There were treaties that were written. It was like, okay, you give me this and I give you that in return. It was just like protection. It's like
So
British
Jamaica
ability
is a
to protect
colony.
you
So
because
how
they
did
have maybe
annexation turn into
advanced weaponry.
colonization?
Hold on.
They
Okay.
had advanced weaponry. They were more powerful than you, so they could protect you. Not that you want to completely abandon your way of life to be them. That's colonization. They colonize you completely.
Like the
So
French areas. Okay,
yes,
we get it. Now let's
the,
allow
So how did
Somali. Wait, Judah.
annexation turn into colonization? That's the question.
We'll get to that, Judah. Let's have Somali and then we'll have Kemet Kunta. Go ahead, Somali.
Yeah, Jamaica is a colony.
It still is. Somali, unmute yourself. Okay.
Can I say something now?
Hold on. Somali, are you there? Somali, you muted yourself. I don't know what happened. Kemet Kunta, go ahead. Kemet Kunta. Somali is not talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, greetings everyone.
Greetings to you, Kemet Kunta. Welcome.
It's interesting. I've been following since well, this is the most amazing show I've been watching throughout. It's enlightening and it's really, it helps people to think critically about, the truth. Okay, I would like to talk about, on the, there is a guy who talks about Africans, if it wasn't the white people or if it wasn't colonization, Africans will not be civilized still up till date. Okay.
Can I talk?
To educate this guy, I don't know what's his name. Is it?
Oh, you're talking about chaotic?
It's probably gone.
Oh yeah, chaotic.
He's gone. Chaotic is gone. But go ahead.
Yeah, chaotic. Is it chaotic or yotic care? I don't know. I want him to recall his mind, or if he could visit Egypt and start his studies there, because you don't start a problem, you don't start solving a problem by the middle of the problem itself. Every problem requires a solution, and the solution of that problem, you have to bring in the history or the story of the problem. There was a time when the Arabs, the West, the whole world was going to Africa to seek for what? Knowledge,
to study,
to seek for what? Education. All these prophets, from Genesis to Revelation, from Baqarah to Nas in the Quran, all these prophets being mentioned there, they had droughts in their countries, they had problems in their countries, and they flee from their countries to where? Egypt. Where was Jesus raised? In Egypt. You see, Abraham, when he got that problem, according to the Bible,
let's not make this in a religion thing. It's just gonna be boring.
No, I'm just coming because it's diverse. It's diverse. If I learn, you will understand. Colonial is very diverse. He is talking about the civilization. I'm talking about how Africa contributed. It's not, civilization goes with humanity. Yesterday, Mimi, is it Mimi or I don't know, he was talking about we have to stop being too nice. So we open our arms too much for people to come and enter us and learn. So that has crippled us in many ways.
Just kick the white Europeans out.
It has crippled us in many ways.
Kick the white Europeans out of your country. Is that so difficult?
This is colonialism. It's very diverse and it entails, it's too deep. You understand? Now, what I mean to say is, I'm referring to the point of chaotic when he said Africans will not be still civilized. Africans have taught the world civilization. He need to go to Egypt and see all the texts. Now, slavery and colonialism diverted the Africans and the African people from their original self to a foreign self. Now, they have installed puppet leaders to maintain the status quo. You see, when a wolf taught a sheep, the sheep will eventually graduate to defend the interests of the wolf. Now, the wolf doesn't need to come to the territory of the sheep to hunt. That sheep that he has taught will do the rest of the job. And this is why we are still in this mesh. You see,
Thank you.
This is my point anyway.
Thank you, Kemet Kunda.
I'm still
Go ahead,
listening.
Somali. Go ahead, Somali.
Yeah, I got a question. Why are you Africans afraid of white people? Kick them out of your house. Is that so difficult? The problem with
exactly.
Are you African?
Africanos love it.
Are you African?
African? Yeah, of course I'm African. East African.
Okay, East African. So Somali, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So okay, you look at the history of this colonization. I mean, technically, this system, the white people, they are still meddling in Somalia. You said kick white people out. So are you like, what are you guys doing about kicking them?
Okay, I got a question.
Yeah.
The white people, when they come to Somalia, they are afraid of us.
Okay.
If you see a Somali with an AK, they are afraid of us. But they're not afraid of you. You know why? Because you.
But they are not. They are not in West Africa with patrolling the streets.
It doesn't matter. The white people.
When they are in West Africa, especially in Nigeria, you see white people controlling the oil field and everything like that.
Wait, Judah, wait.
In order for them to leave the country, you must fight. You must insult them, kick their asses.
Somali, I think you're misunderstanding it. They don't have white people in these countries ruling them. Like
no,
the way you're painting it. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about administrative wise. You see? So you're saying kick the white people out. There's no white man there.
The embassy, kick them out. They don't listen.
You mean kick their system out? You mean the system?
No, system. Yeah. The white people, the system, they are not your friend. You understand what I'm talking about? They want to
even the language, everything colonial religion, everything has to be kicked out.
No. Brother, I got a question, The colonial right? I got a question for you. How come all the African countries that are Muslim majority, they fought the European oppressors? Mali, right? Morocco, Algeria, they fought.
Angola, Somali.
African country fought every African country for the Europeans.
You're the problem.
Sir, Angola fought, Guinea-Bissau, Zimbabwe,
Cameroon fought, Uganda, Basama,
plenty of
everyone fought.
Every country in Africa fought for the Europeans.
So it's not particular to anyone what you're talking about.
That's why they gain independence.
Zimbabwe?
I just named you countries.
Who fought?
Listen,
Somali. So you came. Wait, let me address it. So Somali, you're saying that the West Africans are the ones docile. You do realize, you guys, this 1884, you guys were colonized by many different.
I think like 5 different countries.
Different Europeans.
We were too strong. We were the only
no. You were colonized. You were not. No.
And they came together. 1912.
No,
if you were strong, you could have remained strong to now.
Wait. Somali, you guys were defeated by the Italians. You were defeated by the English. The only force that was able to stand European wars was the Ethiopians. So wait, I don't want this to be.
When the British came in 1910.
Hold on.
Somalia is not strong. That's just.
Hold on. I don't want this to be about.
Somalia is strong.
I don't want this. Wait, I don't want this to be about that. Okay.
We fought the Persians. We fought the Europeans.
But did you get colonized?
That fought 6 European superpowers.
But did you get colonized?
Yeah, no. Only the.
No, did you get colonized? Was Somalia colonized?
That's just a stupid fight. So you were just stupid fighting what you could not win.
Not one, not France.
Hey, how about just let's do the future better? That part.
Okay,
See me?
that's true. Let's allow Deep Sleep to Deep Sleep. You said you have a question for the Somali guy. Go ahead.
I just have one passing question for him, which is why does he have a Afar guy on his picture, even though he's Somali? Because that's an Afar person on his picture.
We have the same blood. We speak.
What you
You're
mean?
not the same, man.
Come on, man.
You niggas ain't the same, bro.
He has the right to have every picture on his profile.
Hey, let's leave that stuff alone. Why are we going petty? Why are we going petty?
Let's
Okay, Afrikaans, can I just make Afrikaans, can I just make one point?
Come on,
Yeah, I
man.
just have
That's
yo,
crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been waiting to just make my point. Like all I wanted to say was for Chaotic Truth and the brother above me. I think his name is Judah. Yeah, like
Judah.
these guys keep making these points, and obviously when Africans like Kifaru and I Can Fire get offended, then they take that as like affirmation that what they're saying is right. Which, I mean, what they're saying is bullshit. Like, yes, smaller African tribes wanted to be protectorates of European tribes and get arms so that they can defend themselves from. That happens everywhere in the world. Like that happened even outside of Africa. It doesn't mean that they looked at the Europeans and thought, nah, my life would be better being a colonist.
Right.
So that as a self-defense
Kafiu
mechanism.
just want to
That happened
sugarcoat
in
stuff. He want to be West
Wait,
African
bro,
so bad.
can I just finish?
My problem with the Somali, can you tell him that, why did they celebrate independence? If
Please
they are
let
not
one
colonized?
at a
Yo,
time,
Afrikaans,
please. One at a time.
for God's sake, man. Like, I'm quiet when these people speak. Can they just be quiet? Like, this is not an African market, bro. Like, relax.
Let the man finish, okay?
Yeah,
Hold on,
and
let me
what
read
they
this
say.
super chat. Give me 1 second. MS Delta, thank you for the super chat again. You're the man. He said, Afridamus, every group in Africa was colonized, if not physically on the group, but socially and economically. Also, as a FBA aiders, I see a lot of African non-unity. Thank you, MS Delta, for the $20 super chat and that comment. Guys, what do you think about what MS Delta said? We'll talk about that in a minute. But
yeah, we need to put away a lot of these little animosities about who did what and who did what.
I serve in the military. Can you please help me to? Can you please allow me to answer this Somali man, because he don't know even Africa at all. That's what I'm trying to talk about.
Okay, I'll let you.
Yeah, can I just finish my point?
But you have to
all I wanted to
realize.
say, just to back up what Kifaru said was.
Deep Sleep, just a minute. Okay. Sometimes some people might address certain things. It might make some people uncomfortable, but you have to realize when people want to talk about something, as long as it's not offensive, it is okay for them to, bring it up, because this is the different regions, different people that think differently. So we're gonna have these differences.
You're right.
And you can see, how that can play in people understanding each other instead of using it as a dividing tool. Yeah. So go ahead, Deep Sleep.
Yeah, and all I wanted to say to the Somali brother when he said that the Muslim Africans fought harder against colonialism. Bro, Senegal to this day is one of France's closest allies in the CFA, and that's a majority Muslim nation. And the other thing, the Fulanis wanted the Brits to stay longer for, I think, an extra 7 or 8 more years before Nigeria became decolonized, because they wanted to recoup some within that agreement of the two nations. Bro, the Muslims did not fight hard. In fact, you could argue that the Muslims wanted to.
From Niger?
Yeah, and the Somalis didn't. Somalis didn't do anything. No, brother. Bro, can I just finish? Somalis didn't do anything special to fight against colonialism. Like, you didn't do anything that was special from any other African tribe. You fought, you lost at the end. Keep it up.
Killed the famous son of the famous explorer Vasco da Gama. Who killed him? Who killed Christopher da Gama?
Of this Somali. Me, I think it's
No. Let me talk. I would like to ask you a question now. Who killed Christopher da Gama? The Portuguese explorer that conquered Angola, that conquered Mozambique, that conquered many countries. Huh? Who killed
the Ottomans?
Who killed? Somaliman.
The Ottomans.
The Ottomans.
You wouldn't have done shit if it wasn't for the Ottomans.
Hold on, guys.
Bro, stop talking, man. Your country is Your country wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for AU troops keeping your country safe right now. Stop this. We are great.
Exactly,
All this
brother.
bullshit. Man.
Exactly, brother.
Bro, shut the fuck up.
And died for Somalia, and he is not
Bro,
appreciating that. That is what makes me so angry
You are
as
disgraced.
an ex-military
Hold
man.
on, Somali, let Malik talk. Malik, go
No,
ahead.
let me talk.
Yes.
Wait, no, Somali, you talked about him. Let him respond.
Somali, can you just shut up your mouth and and just do you know how many African soldiers die in the course of Mogadishu? You are here telling me you are a hero here, you are a hero there. You cannot even.
Somalis help Bantu.
You cannot even keep your country together. You know how many African troops are sent there from Nigeria, from West Africa to die in your country? And you don't appreciate that. And here you are talking, you are a hero. Who is the hero?
Nobody hearing that. Ain't nobody hearing that.
The white people came with a gun. It doesn't mean that they
one at a time. We can't hear.
Yes, because they came with a gun, and you cannot take your stand against a gun. That is logic. But you are always complaining. I mean, we are hero. We are hero. You are nothing else.
Yeah, just to add to that. Again, most African countries have successfully fought out their own terrorist group. Cameroon fought Boko Haram. We didn't ask people to help us. Nigeria is fighting Boko Haram. It's not asking people to help them because you're strong. Why are you asking people to help you fight Al-Shabaab? Go fight them.
Exactly. Apudamus, you want to know what
Nigeria asked US to help them fight Boko Haram. What are you talking about?
That is it's okay. But I'm just telling to the Somali guy, the AU soldiers who died there, which cost did they die on? Is it not on the Somalis? Why don't you defend Mogadishu by yourself? It's the AU that went there and fought and died. That's why your guys
Malik, let him respond. Let him respond. Go ahead,
What's this guy? First of all, bro, we Somalis, you are not on our level. We fought Europeans. The Portuguese, they fled. The Americans, they fled. The ancient Greeks, they fled.
Are you celebrating independence or not?
You are a docile tribe.
Are you celebrating independence or not?
Okay. Who are the Zanj people?
No, I'm asking you, what are you celebrating for 1960? 1960, what is that in Somalia?
You understand? Who are the Zanj people that were shipped to
my friend? You are just weak. That's why all the colonies come there and pick you up like rats.
You want to fuck with the Somali? Bro, you answer slaves.
Okay. Can I say something? I just want to go, bro. Can I just say something?
Hold on. Allow that Raven. Go ahead, that Raven.
All right. What I was going to say, I'm going to keep it short this time. Colonialism was interrupted. It was a process that was interrupted because of the World War. Hitler wanted to expand his nation, and it caused the World War that interrupted the process that was not finished. The end goal.
Thank you very much.
The end goal was to replace the African peoples in the continent. That's why you see Southern Africa was having enough white people come. Over time, enough of white people would have come into the continent, and they would have taken over, and we would be fighting for the continent like that. Africa, like the Native Americans were fighting for survival. That was the process.
That's logically true.
The process was a replacement process. Anyway, it was interrupted. That's all I
I totally agree with that point. That Hitler's
was about to be
issue
Arab
with the West have really slowed down the colonial process.
It was happening in Southern Africa. It happened in East Africa. They were taking over. They were settling. So you were about to be replaced. Right now, we will be carrying AK-47s like Native Americans fighting to survive in the jungles. If the World War never happened, so the World War stopped the process of replacement. Colonialism. The word itself means to take over and replace the ones that are there.
Can I talk as well?
To take over.
Can I talk?
Exactly.
Okay.
Didn't you guys help the Europeans to fight the First World War? Wasn't?
Shut up, Judy.
What are you talking about?
Go ahead, Somali. Say your last. Okay, guys. Here's the thing. Here's what we're going to do. Here, allow Somali to talk, guys. Don't interrupt him. If anybody interrupt him, I'm gonna drop you and put you in the back. Allow him to speak, and whatever you have, you can respond to him. But let the man talk. Go ahead, Somali.
Thank you very much. I got news for you. There's a new colonizer on his way. You know who it is? China. China wants to conquer Africa and settle and never leave again. Look at Angola, look at Zambia, look at Malawi. China is our new threat, not the Europeans. The Europeans, they only wanted our resources. They did not want our country. They only want our diamond, our gold. But the Chinese, they want to settle. They do not want to leave. That's why I urge you, all you who's watching, kick the Chinese out before it's too late. You understand me? The
Yeah, brother,
Chinese
you
is the
spoke
threat,
the truth.
not the Europeans. Forget the Europeans.
That's the thing I want to say.
The new threat is China. They're almost 2 billion now.
Okay, thank you. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me read this. MS Delta, thank you for this super chat again. You know, you the man. Thank you so much. Said World Bank, International Monetary Fund, NATO, UN are all current systems of neo-colonialization. Somalia is not special or excluded from these global neo-colonial systems. Even Western scholars will admit these systems exist. This is absolutely true. But so the China one, that's a whole different ball game. You're right on that. A Chinese general once said, the way for China to, China to continue going on, they would have to find outside colonies, like new settlements outside of China.
They're even worse.
And build a new China. That's a whole different ball game. Now let's move on to who did it?
Can you please ask this guy who liberated Mogadishu?
Please, let's not talk about Somali. Let's just talk about Africa.
Let me answer. This man just make people very angry. Africans.
Can you stop? Can you stop?
Bro, forget about Somali. We know Somali is not doing great. Let's think about.
Forget about Somalia.
Yeah,
Somalia is far better off than Nigeria in terms of security.
I'm here to talk about the European threat and the Chinese.
Exactly what I want you to
guys. This topic is not about Somalia.
You are great. You are that. You are that. You have been colonized. 1960.
The man is proud of his country.
You see,
which country in Africa was the less colonized?
The less colonized.
Yeah, which country? Was Somalia?
Ethiopia.
How?
Ethiopia.
Then
1912.
Because if you are not colonized,
1912. We were
right? If you start independent, that means you have been colonized. This is simple logic.
1912.
Somalia, you've been colonized by the Arabs. What are you talking about?
No.
You're completely colonized by the Arabs. Somalia, let me explain.
Guys, one mic, please. One mic. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna hold on, guys. Okay, we're about to do our closing statements. Akan Fire, go for it. You got 30 seconds. Akan Fire.
Yeah, man. What I see going on is Africans now. What I see now is Africans on the continent have never faced the truth, and now I see they actually facing the truth. I mean, like, some truths are coming out, and I'm telling you, y'all have to face it, and what y'all have to do is be mature about it. As Somali said, we have to look at these threats. One time Africa was too big for real communication. That's why we was so split up. They could go to the West Coast and be at the East Coast, and we don't know. They could be at the South Coast, and we don't know, because Africa is so goddamn big. You feel me? A tribe could be in Africa and don't know what the hell is going on 1,000 miles away from them, because they never traveled 1,000 miles. So we have to get a hold of this. Right now, we can speak to each other, we can communicate. One Somali, one Cameroon, two Ghana, feel me? A Jamaica right here. So now is our chance to to tell each other what's going on in our areas, and to make each other know what's going, not what, how, and so we can collaborate and calculate what we're doing. So now all of us is acknowledging that the Chinese is everywhere on the continent. Without media, you would never know that. Same with what was the white man was doing without media. They was all around our shit. You feel me? It was news to some people that white people control South Africa. The white people, to some people, it was news. So
you're right. You're absolutely right. Well, thank you so much.
So we need to collaborate more, be mature about it, and focus on these enemies, since we have this access now to information.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, Ikan Fire.
Yes,
thank you for calling in. Enjoy. All right, now let's have Malik. Malik Sanyan. Go ahead, Malik. What's your last statement?
Yes, thank you very much, Avidemus, for this program. Yeah, but the only advice, the little advice I have for this Somali brother, you are a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. A Muslim speaks truth, okay? So Muslims don't make themselves big above everybody. That is not a iman, okay? You have to be factual. Mogadishu was liberated by African Union, and a lot of African soldiers died there. You understand?
You are telling lies. You are telling lies.
Guys, you'll have your chance. Somali guys, let the man say his last statement. You guys will have your chance. Go ahead. Let the man.
It's nothing like, I'm going to the market, I'm going there. Somalia has been colonized. Whether you say it's 3 people, 4 people, you fight. Every nation fight the colonial masters.
1912.
If you don't know history, you should know that every nation in this West Africa, South Africa, they fought colonization. But at the end of the day, they were overpowered. And everybody admit that. Okay?
Exactly.
If you were so great, why is your country still in tatters? You cannot even fight a jihadist. Talk less about a colonial master. You don't have to be a liar, as a Muslim.
No. What are you talking about? We Somalis were never slaves.
Somali, let the man
just keep quiet. Keep quiet. In 1960, Somalia gained independence. Everybody knows that. And that is not a secret. As a Muslim, everybody knows that throughout the world. Okay? And you are celebrating independence. Why? Because you have been colonized. Okay? It's not only Somalia. Egypt has been colonized. Morocco has been colonized. They were all under the Ottoman Empire. And after the Second World War, they took over those lands. What are you talking about? So Afrida Mosque, sometimes, as an ex-military man who went, and struggled, so I don't know what is going on with Muslims nowadays. Muslims can be in a platform and keep lying and thinking that he is brave. You cannot even fight Kenya. Kenya is one of the weakest military in Africa, and talk less about, other parts of Africa. You don't have materials. This nowadays, there is nothing like you are brave. Bravery don't fight. It's materials that fight. America can be in America and bombard all Somalia, and all of you die. Nothing will happen. You understand? So you are brave. You are brave. Brave for what? That's what I don't understand.
Thank you, Malik.
We the military people, we meet the Somali military on the ground. We know how their capabilities are. I don't know, who is telling you. Do you know that there are Nigerian police officers right now in Somalia training their police officers to become to do community policing?
Wow.
Yes, right now. And this is a fact. It's not about, I'm lying or going around. He knows that you call Somalia, you will find Sierra Leonean police officers, West African police officers training their police officers to become better policemen. These are facts. Okay, if you've never been to Somalia, or you are a Somali in the West, then you can start dreaming about things, my grandparents was a great man, was that. That is, you know what I'm saying? Frictions. Facts are there for everybody to see.
Thank you, Malik. Thank you very much for your last statements. Thank you. Okay, let's have Somali for supremacist. Go ahead, Somali supremacist.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
The thing I want to say is this brother is so delusional. He doesn't know anything about Somalis. We have a thing called AMISOM in Somalia. They are just like security forces. Most of them, like 6%, they are from Burundi, and we all know what situation Burundi is in now. So it doesn't mean that Burundi is better than Somalia, but it's just an African Union mission. They're doing nothing. They don't fight Al Shabaab. Mogadishu was freed by the former Somali president Farmajo, and that's a well-known fact. So this guy,
he's right.
For me, just really knew nothing about the history of Somalis and Somalia. I think the thing I wanted to say is we just have to admit that digested what East African is, especially the Bantus in the south, in the west. It doesn't matter in Kenya, in East Africa. This, with all due respect, but they are just raw Sahelis. They just do nothing for themselves. They are docile, these people, they are just, they are meant to be like that. You have Lebanon is, there's still a well-known fact. They are looking down on the natives there, and they do nothing. I was been I have been to Kenya. I was born there. I've been there many times. I travel all the time there, and you have native Kenyans going to Indians and asking for and saying to them, please let us date or be with your girls. They are not content. Can you hear me? They are not content. They are just running away from their own. They don't have self-respect.
So was Somalia colonized?
What do you mean by colonized? We want slaves. But
were you guys colonized? There were many countries that were colonized who weren't enslaved. Like Eritrea got enslaved. He's gone. Go ahead, Somali. Actually, let's let Judah go.
No, I want to talk.
Go ahead, Somali. Go ahead.
First of all, we Somalis, we were colonized. Yes, you're right. You know what year? 1912. We were the last country in Africa that was colonized. Not in the 1600s when the Portuguese came to Angola. Not in the 1700s when they came to Malawi. 1912. You understand me? We defeated the British. They run away like children. We defeated the Americans. We defeated everybody. The reason why Somalia is now in problem is you have many countries in Europe, America, they do not want Somalia to be great again.
When did Somalia gain independence?
Can I talk? I'm talking. If you leave us Somalis alone, we will be 10 times better than Dubai. You know why? Because Somali people, we are businessmen. We do business. The people, the country is rich, but the people are also rich because we are business people. We like to do business. You understand?
Right.
Okay. To the other Bantu guy I was talking. Listen.
To who?
We Somalis, we are not a docile tribe.
Listen,
My last closing argument is fight the Chinese, kick them out. If you see a European in your country, he's acting tough, kick his white ass. You understand me? Fight. Don't be afraid. You are strong people. Fight the Europeans and the Chinese. That's why China is not coming to Somalia. He knows if China comes to Somalia, there will be war. That's why I tell you all, you can learn from the Somalis. We are dapper, we are fearless, and we love to die. That's our motto. That's why Hollywood is making a movie about us. You understand me?
Yes.
You should learn from our Somalis.
Thank you very much.
You were the first Africans that kicked the Europeans out. Never forget that. Thank you very much. That was my.
Thank you for your last statement. All right, let's have Judah go for it, Judah.
Afidemus, I want to ask you two questions. Are you part of colonization?
Am I what?
Are you part of colonization?
Wait, you're asking me if I am proud of colonization. Now, why would I be proud of that?
Okay, that's it. Are you proud of speaking English?
Am I proud of speaking English? So, wait, what is speaking English?
No, I just that's two questions. I want to make my point. Then I'm gonna go.
When you say proud, what do you mean? In what context?
It's just a question. Are you proud speaking English?
I'm proud of speaking any language that benefits me.
So you are proud speaking English?
I am proud of speaking any language that benefits me.
Okay, and then let me make my point. All right. This is the thing, right? I'm a Pan-African, and I believe that colonization was a problem. It was chaotic. It was bad for Africans, and Africa have no right to be linked to what happened to them. We have taken certain trophies and don't want to let it go, and we believe that what we have is a priority. But the language that we took from these Europeans that colonized us is a problem to us. And the religions that we took from these people.
What is the problem with the language?
The problem of the language is like somebody comes into your house and kill your whole family and left his belt in your bedroom. And you didn't give it back to the third person. And every time you put on the belt and think it's a good belt because you like it, forgetting that. Go ahead.
So when you speak English, did that make you like stop speaking your own language? Like
it makes you a lineage to the colonial master.
It makes you what?
A lineage, a link, a person that adores them, like their ways, like their that was what the French rule was. People saw French.
So you admire, you adore, British people because you speak English?
Exactly. You want to be like, they call it English like.
But I don't want to be like the English. I just speak the language. That's it. There's nothing
okay.
English
Now let me finish. Let me finish my point.
Well, no,
I'm about to close out.
Well, since I know I'm someone that speaks English, absolutely, there's nothing about me that would tell you I want to be English. I'll speak the language. I speak other languages too. But speaking language, doesn't mean that you all of a sudden it erases your own language.
Did you know Japan?
Okay,
did you know Japan was colonized by British?
Judah, finish up. I don't want to keep you.
Okay,
sorry, go ahead.
Did you know Japan was colonized by British?
Japan was not colonized by the British, sir.
Okay. Did you know South Korea? Did you know Hong Kong was colonized?
Japan was not colonized by the British. Hong Kong was, and Hong Kong, the official language is English. If that's what you're getting at.
They don't speak. They don't. Okay. Let's
Hong
let
Kong,
it from there.
Wait. For example, like we've already talked about this. Like in Gambia, the official language is English, just like in Hong Kong. But the people there speak in the various different languages. There's more popular local language that everybody speaks in.
But they prefer colonial language in schools and hospitals and on TVs.
Again, like I said, the language, that the English might be the official, but the people there, majority, speak, in the local languages. The civilization, the understanding is not like, it's nothing like the English culture. Speaking the language and the culture are two completely different things.
Yeah,
As you know, in West Africa, people speak Pidgin. So language is a vehicle. You are hanging onto this language thing as if, like Judah, do you speak your own language?
I speak my own language, of course.
So what makes you think that you have the capability to speak your language in English, but other people don't have that same
No, I don't have to speak English. That's why I'm fighting for Pan-Africanism.
And what language would you want introduced?
Right. When it comes to language, then we have to choose which language Africans have to speak.
But don't you think that would also would be foreign to?
No, it would not be foreign because it's African-like.
Oh, so let's say if I abandon my language and speak this language that you are proposing, How is that any different than me speaking English and
Because
being
it's an
able?
African language.
Judah, this is not smart. You are not making any
No,
sense.
no, no. You
You're
are the one that is
literally.
not smart because you
Hold on,
prefer. Okay,
hold on. Let me finish. Okay. Prior to even these languages being taught and being the official languages, people did commerce in many different languages. They spoke Portuguese. These are languages people use them for commerce. This is just communication. But
come on,
but
man.
but 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 if you are sitting here, what you are saying to me, this is not making sense. Are you telling me everybody that that are in these countries, they speak English language? You run into many people in these countries, the official language might be English or French. They don't know a word in it. Like, what are you talking about here?
Okay, have you
It's
finished?
only people that go to school. You go to school, you learn this language, and you
Why
still,
do you have to learn a colonial language in your country that you have
because
different languages in the first
because
place?
again, we've already explained what 1884 is. You've seen
But
the short.
that's a
Hold on.
mental
Okay,
colonization that
what is
African
your
hasn't.
wait? You're wasting my time. So, what is your point?
All right, let me finish my point and
You got
say
30
bye.
seconds, please. You have 30 seconds.
Okay,
Tell
this is
me
the thing,
what your
right?
point is.
As a pan-Africanism, there are certain things that Africans have to let go. They have to be language. Africans have to cut all colonial languages out. All these colonial religions that we have, Muslims, Christianity, all this stuff have to be abandoned and taken out of the African continent. We don't want people to be divided with Muslims or Christianity. We want an African religion that will
Okay,
replace all these religions.
thank
African
you.
languages have to replace these colonial languages
All right,
for
thank you
Africans
very
to
much.
be Africans. We
All
cannot
right,
come often and want to be independent while we are still hanging on to colonial languages, colonial religions, and colonial everything. And we are blaming each other. Why we want to speak like them? Come on, man. It makes no sense at all.
all
But
right.
anyway, I'm a proud Pan-African, and I wish one day Africans can really come together and say what we are actually doing is not good and stick to one people, have one currency, one language, open borders, you know, and that would be a good life for Africans. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Deep sleep.
Afridamus, where do you keep getting these Africans from?
Go ahead, deep sleep. This is.
Yeah, look, what I'm gonna say, Kifaru, I'm just gonna lay it up for Kifaru, and Kifaru can just dunk it. These Somalis need to stop bigging themselves up over nonsense. You guys were colonized just like everybody else. You're still colonized. You are colonized in Kenya. You are colonized in Ethiopia. Your tribe has been divided into 5 different countries. Even your main country, Somalia, right now, wouldn't stand by itself if it wasn't for Africa AU troops. Al-Shabaab right now raises more funds in taxes than your central government. You literally have no country. Like Djibouti is the most successful Somali country, and even then, there's Afars there. And yeah, these people need to stop capping. Like, most Africans, I've realized, wouldn't pick on Somalis if they didn't come on these streams and try and big themselves up and try and downplay Bantu Africans and other West Africans and say, "Oh, you guys should be more like us. We are better. We fought harder." You didn't fight shit.
I think that's the worst example.
All right, let him finish. Because we're running
Yeah,
out
you
of.
guys didn't fight anything. Like, they should just stop. Like, you see, none of the points they actually made make any sense. This guy said you guys should be more like us. What about Somalis right now? Would anyone want to emulate? You're the second poorest country, and he said Europeans are trying to hold us back. Bro, the average European doesn't spend a second in their day thinking about Somalia. You yourself are holding yourself. Europeans are not doing shit to fund Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab is your own creation. Deal with it.
You.
I just wanted to say that I'm tired of these Somalis coming here and talking all this bullshit about, oh, you guys should be more like us, and trying to make it sound like there's some superior or beings or something. Like, get over yourself. And then they get angry when you tell them the truth about themselves, and they say, you Africans hate us. No, no one hates you. No one even thinks about you like that. Get over yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Kifaru, and then we'll have that ready.
Yeah, really, to be honest, at this point, Somalis is just a distraction to me. I don't really like talking about them because when I see Somalis, it's like that one child that has got nothing to show for, and they're just looking back in history. They keep going back and back and back and back until that one time that they had something good. That's where they stay on. You know, some other people have moved on, they've done so many things good, but since they have no other thing to talk about, so they always fall back to their history. If you notice, they have the same talking point. All the Somalis, oh, we fought this. They have this because that's the only thing in their history that they can fall back to say they did something great. But most other countries have moved on, they've done something good, and so many things have changed, but they don't come and hide themselves. But since that's the only thing they have, that's the only thing they know. So I don't really like to talk about them. But I'm just going to talk about colonization. Well, I think we all Africans, we understand that colonization has created something bad for the continent. But I always try to tell Africans, let's go back to history. Let's compare from dates and dates and dates and dates. You will see we were really moving up with the Europeans almost the same. And in even some parts in history, we're even better up, we're better off than them. And the history has shown that, like, I think in the 16th century, there were public lamps in Benin City. In the 16th century, there's so many things that have been going on. So we should say, okay, around the 17th century, the late 16th century, something went wrong. What was that? How did we mess up? How did we get it so wrong that it just brought up into this complete mess and doom that we became all this colonized and slavery and things like that? I think that is the point we should be seeing and how we can fix Africa. No, so I'm always rejecting the point that colonization did anything good for Africa. No, we just lose everything because I'm going to repeat again. During the time of colonization, during that 70 period years, that was when the most of the rest of the world were going on. They were advancing themselves in medicine, culture, technology. The rest of the world, but then we were stuck with colonization, so we didn't have that opportunity to share. And if you see, like most of these European countries, they shared information. They discovered gunpowder in China, and they had to share it to the rest of the world. They did not share it to Africa. There are countless letters of African chiefs writing these European people, please come and create we want these universities, we want this knowledge. But they said, no, you just have to have really basic education. Maybe, I don't know, very like basic education so that you can work for this German thing. So they actually refuse to make Africans be part of this information sharing. So, but we should ask ourselves, how do we allow these people? What went wrong from the 16th century? We were doing great, and we try to fix that. So, that's just what I'm going to say.
Thank you so much, Kifaru. Thank you for coming. Go ahead, Dark Raven. Before you go, hold on, Dark Raven. 1 second. KBM, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, the Chinese government are paying an English speaker to teach their population English, to use it as a tool to benefit them. His logic is a child. Yeah. Jude, I don't know what Jude's obsession is with language, but this is weird. Yeah, his obsession with this. You know, I just engage him to hear his logic, but this, I don't get that part.
No, but it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. I know about Jude. I've met Jude in many panels and all that stuff. He's very sickening to listen to and all that stuff. It makes your head sick and all that stuff if you listen to it enough time. But anyways, no problem. We will leave it. Where did we go wrong in my assessment? I think the fact is Europeans brought their ways to Africa. They brought their ways of warfare because of their circumstance led to a small land, so they had to compete a lot. They brought their competition into Africa. So they exacerbated divisions that were already there. Divisions that never led to major wars. Those divisions ramp up because they needed to actually keep the market of slave trading going. You understand me? They needed to supplement it. So they exacerbated that situation. And it led to where it led. But you have to acknowledge the fact of that they were technologically more advanced. Why? Because they were fighting all the time. They were competing all the time. They took the technology of gunpowder to the next level. They had the Gatling gun. So it's easy for them to just easily take over the continent after that. That is all that happened. It's nothing complex and all that stuff. The Chinese were far more advanced than them in terms of other technologies as well. They've copied their boats, their ships, how they build houses, all these stuff they learned from the Chinese. The differentiator is the Chinese were more advanced than them in many things, but Europeans were more advanced in terms of the machinery of killing people because they competed at that level so high that they overtake the Chinese. They refined that gunpowder to learn how to kill people. That was the difference. But everything else they learned was from the Chinese in terms of technological advancement. Anyways, people tend to romanticize colonialism. I don't know where this is coming from. They're romanticizing it. When I think about it, it's like this is a process that was supposed to take place. If the war didn't happen, I'm telling you, Afro-Damas, look at Southern Africa, how it's going, and East Africa. These white people, they would have moved there to settle that place and take over eventually. Like that's how it's a slow process of takeover. So our generation right now would have been in actual physical combat right now for survival, like the Native Americans. So people who romanticize colonialism and say it's a good thing, it was just a process that was never completed. You would have been fucking replaced, bro. The process of replacement was just not completed. That was what was happening. And for those who say that the British were settler colonialists, like look at Australia, they replaced them. Look at Native America, they replaced them. Argentina, they replaced them. All this other. It seems like the colonization is a process of replacement. So for Africans that say that, oh, we survive is a good thing that happened, like you only got saved because the World War happened. That's the only thing there was. That's all. Afghanistan, that was all. And for those West Africans that say the French were not settler colonialists, the French would have.
So Hitler, indirectly Hitler saved Africans.
Indirectly, Hitler saved the world, and after Hitler, the Soviet Union saved the world. After Hitler, sorry.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Anyway, that's what I was gonna say. But good show, Afro-Damas. Judah is a mad guy, bro. Watch out for him. That guy, you never meet somebody like that.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was the show. It was heated, and as you guys know, Judah had to come and talk about the English language. It seemed like the guy just have something against English language. I engaged him. You heard him. He has his reasons, which is pretty weird for what it. Because if we don't speak English, for instance, like I'm over here speaking it, it doesn't mean I'm an Englishman, but it allows me to communicate with a whole lot of people and even him. But as you can see, go back if you missed out on the short little documentary that I, delve into and break it down, you will see exactly how, 1884, brief moment, how the, colonialism happened and the difference between French colonialism and English colonialism. But at the end of the day, colonialism was colonialism, and it still is. You can pick and choose. Some people might be like, oh, this thing here is beneficial, this other thing is beneficial. But trust and believe. It wasn't only Europeans that benefited, as you saw in the documentary. There's like certain groups, some groups of Africans, they thought they were benefiting, but it was all to protect their selfish interests. But at the end of the day, they still got gobbled up, I think some people confuse that as the people, they're saying the British to rule them. No, those people want to be able to rule the other people, but they want to use the British as their allies, as a military force to subjugate the other people. So, but when you bring the wolf in, what's going to happen? You can't trust that. So they use one group to take one group down, just like they did in northern Nigeria. Even though they had that Sokoto Caliphate, their intention was to maintain it. the blueprint is still there, but is it the Sokoto Caliphate? No, now it is for sure Nigeria. Whatever, you know, whatever they were trying to, what they had in mind, let's put it this way, did not happen. This is why you continue to see the fight. I hope this show helped, clear up whatever confusion you've had about the, scramble and partition of Africa. People are going to have different perspectives about it, but at the end of the day, facts will help save us all from this delusion. Until next time, I'm your host, Afridamus, and this was a great show. I enjoyed it, and I hope you did as well. All right, I'll see you guys.